Chapter 989. The saddest thing in life was to have a baby face that looked like he was in his early 20s when he was already in his early 30s. As the chief assistant of Zhongting CO, Su Che's annual income was 7 figures and he had a house and a car. He should be at the age to start a family, but he did not even have a girlfriend. As the little princess of the Xing family grew up, he came home earlier and earlier. That meant that Su Che had more and more free time. In fact, it was Mu Qiqi's intention. Su Che should have found someone to accompany him a long time ago. It was another boring night when Su Che was called home for dinner by his big brother. In fact, it was to arrange a blind date for him. The other party was an English teacher who had studied abroad. He heard that Su Che was a good man and wanted to meet him, but he quickly got up and left when he saw Su Che. Rumor had it that Su Che was already 32 years old, but the young man in front of him had just reached adulthood. Although he was handsome, but what women could not stand the most was looking older than the people around them, which was why he left immediately. "Brother, can you not make such arrangements?" Su Che was helpless. "I'm thinking about your happiness." A voice came from the kitchen. "Where's Yang Yang?" Su Che changed the topic and looked around for his nephew. "He's been addicted to games and doesn't even eat," Su Che answered while cooking. Su Che pushed open the door to his nephew's room and saw him fumbling with his phone. "I dropped stars again." The well-behaved little boy jumped up when he saw Su Che. "Quick, help me play games, help me rank, help me get stars." Su Che took the phone with a frown. The child had been addicted to mobile games recently. Kings of Glory was a very popular game recently. Adults and children could play a game as long as they sat on the sofa for half an hour. It was indeed very relaxing. He was Zhongting's assistant after all and had extraordinary skills. But now he was being suppressed by his nephew to play games? "If I help you get stars, will you eat obediently?" Su Che asked the child in his arms. Tick. Su Che put the child down and looked at the game's controls seriously. "What hero do you usually use?" "Lu Ban." The child scratched his head and laughed. "Because he's a primary school student. He fits my temperament." Su Che shook his head helplessly. Then he saw Han Xian in his hero pool. "You spent money?" "Of course not. I had to save up diamonds for a long time before I got a crystal to exchange for it." The child hurriedly explained. "Recently, a big sister added me as a friend because she said I'm a cute noob. She even invited me just now. I don't want to play with her." Su Che sat down on the child's bed and saw someone pulling him up. Her in-game nickname was Win or Not, and her avatar was a cute little chubby girl. This was probably what the kids were talking about. Su Che agreed to form a team and entered the hero selection interface. Kid's hero pool was very small, probably because he didn't have much pocket money. Other than Arthur Luban, there was only Han Xin. Usually, the child had been practicing with Lu Ban, so Han Xin had almost no proficiency. Su Che instantly chose Han Xin. When the child saw it, he immediately panicked. "Uncle, you know how to do it, right? Are you Han Xin? Your dad is calling you. Hurry up and go." Su Che didn't like people chattering non-stop beside him when he was playing games, so he sent the child away. "Then play well. I can't drop again." The child instructed Su Che as he went out. How could he drop a silver game? Su Che didn't say anything. At that moment he saw a faint message from the 5th floor. "Brat, you've grown up. You chose Han Xin. Hurry up and switch back to little Luden." Not only that, but she also instantly chose Li Bai. Su Che didn't move at all. He didn't intend to pay attention to the other party. "Good boy, switch back to an elementary school student. I'll carry you." The other 3 floors followed. Damn, he's really an elementary school student. "Let's do a 6-pointer. The 2 assassins will definitely lose." That was how low-end games were. Su Che completely pretended not to see it. He wanted to directly block the game, but for some reason when he saw Li Bai, Su Che resisted the urge to block it and waited until the game started. After the game started, Su Che saw Li Bai squatting in the grass with the blue buff and said a long string of words to Su Che. "Elementary school student, follow me or just hide in the grass. It's safe that way." Su Che couldn't take it anymore and replied, "You talk too much." With that said, Su Che went straight to the enemy's jungle and squatted in the grass by the river. When the other assassins were almost done fighting, he went forward and used punishment to take away the duff. Then he jumped back into the river without looking back. As it was a low-end game, there was almost no cooperation between teammates, Therefore, as long as the other party was slightly aware, they could directly approach the high ground in 6 minutes. During the entire process, his teammates were cursing. Han Xian is trash. He doesn't even join the team. Han Xian is an assassin. He doesn't even know how to catch people. Everyone is dead, but Han Xian is still fighting in the jungle. However, at that moment, Li Bai stood up and said to the other 3 teammates, "So what if he's an elementary school student? Aren't you guys still in the silver game? I brought the elementary school student here. I'll be the one scolding him. Who do you think you are? I'm not playing anymore. Hang up." The 3 teammates all started AFK together without even discussing it with each other. Then Li Bai stood under the tower with deep resentment. A group of adults are even inferior to my little Luden. Even elementary school students know not to give up. Su Che, little Luden, be good. This round is over. We still have the next round. Su Che persisted in fighting in the jungle. Soon he took out his 3rd piece of equipment and began to squat in all sorts of places to kill the other party's fragile opponents. 1 kill, 2 kills. Even if 4 people hung up, he wouldn't lose so easily. Right on the heels of that, he snatched the dragon from the dominator's position and drained all the other party's HP before returning home. Then he took the next route and broke through all the way to the other party's 2nd tower. If the other party came, 1 would die. If 2 came, 2 would die. And just like that, Li Bai stood under his own crystal and saw Su Che's beauty. "Boo-hoo, you're not the little Luden I know. Who are you?" 15 minutes later, the game ended. The 3 people who had hung up were probably dumbfounded. They had actually won inexplicably. Then Su Che returned the phone to his nephew to show off his achievements. "Can we eat properly now?" The little kid was happy to see his achievements and said to Su Che, "Let me tell you a secret. This little sister is the lady boss of the dessert shop at the entrance of the residential area. She's a little chubby but very cute. If you think she's not bad, marry her and make her my aunt. It's okay if she's a little chubby. The most important thing is that the desserts at her house are really delicious." Su Che, was this child a devil? He would betray his uncle's happiness for food? Even so, when Su Che left his brother's residential area, he still paid special attention to the dessert shop at the entrance. The shop was called Orange's Nest. The decoration was bright and cute in the style of youth. As expected, it was very popular with children. Su Che subconsciously looked inside and saw a girl with her hair tied up in a bun sitting on a chair playing games. She was indeed chubby, but her skin was surprisingly good. She looked a little round and cute. He also recognized the avatar in the game. It was her. In the middle of winter, Su Che stood at the entrance of the dessert shop. After a while, he saw 2 shop assistants walk out with small pieces of Napoleon cake in their hands. "Sir, do you want to try it?" Su Che took the small piece of dessert and put it in his mouth. No wonder the child liked it. "Give me one. I'll take it away." "Please follow me." Su Che followed behind the dessert shop assistant, but his gaze was on the seat by the window. Wasn't she afraid that the shop would collapse if she was so addicted to games? "Sir, our strawberry cake is also very delicious. Give me 1 piece each." Su Che didn't know where his curiosity came from. He actually had such a strong interest in that round little Li Bai. He felt that he must have been possessed. So after getting the cake, he turned around and left. However, at that moment a man came in. Then Su Che heard the sound of someone slamming the table. "Xiao Yi, what do you mean? You said you would give me 100,000 yuan. Where's the money? You're very good at raising a gigolo. Why are you so stingy when it comes to your family?" Su Che turned around and saw that the girl had finally put down her hands and stood up. "I worked hard to earn money. I'm willing to give it to whoever I want. You raised a gigolo. He likes you, so I won't say anything. He's just using you, you know? You sent him to participate in professional player training. You spent a lot of money, but what happened in the end? After he became popular, would he still recognize you?" The man was tall and thin, but he was capable and strong. He grabbed the girl's hand and kept pulling it. "It's because you're fat. I told you to eat less and give me the money, but you didn't listen." The girl's eyes were red. She wanted to break free from the man's shackles, but the difference in strength between a man and a woman was too great. "Give me the money. I'll leave if I give you the money." "I didn't." The girl cried out. When the man heard this, he wanted to hit her, but Su Che grabbed his wrist. "You shouldn't hit a woman. The man looked at Su Che's baby face and immediately smiled. Kid, how old are you? You should learn to mind your own business now. Before he could say the word mind your own business, the man's body had already flown out of the dessert shop. Xiao Yi and her phone widened their eyes as they watched this scene. Was he some kind of Superman? However, Su Che's face was calm as he asked Xiao Yi, "Are you okay?" Xiao Yi held her wrist and shook her head. "Thank you, I'm fine. You should call the police." "The police can't do anything about it. Although I don't want to admit it, he's my brother." "I've let you see a joke today," Xiao Yi said to Su Che apologetically. Xiao Yi said to Su Che apologetically, "To express my apology, I'll give you all the pastries in the shop today." Su Che didn't care about her pastries. He just looked at her phone that had fallen to the ground and said, "You're about to be reported." Xiao Yi immediately squatted down. "Ah, my advancement match. So what was this called?" She could give away the cake, but she couldn't lose the game. Moreover, she had just been caused trouble by her gangster brother. Now all her attention was on the game. Did all the fat people in the world have this kind of special ability? Did they forget things especially quickly? However, it was quite cute. Please remember the domain name of this book. Com. Wonderful Book House's mobile version. Com. Chapter 990. Su Che's extravagance 2. Acting cool failed. Her name was Xiao Yi. She wasn't fat in the past. She knew how to make authentic European-style pastries and was once a high-class pastry chef in a 7-star hotel. However, ever since she met a scumbag, her life had undergone earth-shattering changes. Because the other party was a gaming genius, she spent money to send this scumbag to the best professional team training, making him famous. However, the night he received the trophy, he rolled into bed with his new lover. From then on, she was unable to recover. She opened a dessert shop, played games on a daily basis and tried out the new products. Soon she became like this. However, because the taste of the cake was too good, even if she opened a dessert shop casually, it would still be very popular. In order to stop the customers, Xiao Yi thought of a method to limit the number of customers. However, it still did not stop the endless stream of customers. Instead, it became even more famous in the vicinity. Everyone knew that the lady boss of the dessert shop gave up her business in order to play games. She was very awesome. The owners of the 2 fast food restaurants nearby saw that her business was booming and wanted her to take over their shops. However, the lady boss said, "Expand the shop? Not interested." Was this the legendary Buddhist way of doing business? Xiao Yi's family had a prodigal brother who would come to cause trouble from time to time. However, ever since he was sent flying by the little brother last time, he had never come again. She didn't know if he was recuperating at home. Thinking of the little brother that night, Xiao Yi couldn't help but sneer at herself. He should be a little brother. She was already 27 years old and the other party was at most in his early 20s. Thinking of this, Xiao Yi opened the Honor of Kings game interface again and found that her little disciple was actually online. "Win or not, little Luden, are you ranked?" "Jiba Primary School. Don't call me little Luden. I know Han Xin." "Win or not, tell me honestly, you weren't the one who beat Han Xin that night, right?" Xiao Yi pouted. This primary school student had actually learned to ask for help. "Jiba Primary School. It's my uncle. Handsome, right? Let me tell you, he knows how to jump on roofs and walk on walls. I admire him the most." "Win or not, do you think your uncle is a gecko?" "Jiba Primary School. My dad is in retreat." Xiao Yi looked at little Luden's blackened profile picture and suddenly thought of that night. The little brother in the brown windbreaker had sent her scumbag brother flying with one kick. Could it be that there really was a Superman in this world? Just as Xiao Yi was thinking about it, she saw Superman come to her door again. This time he was wearing a white down jacket and looked like a high school student. It was good to be young. "It's you again. I'm really sorry that I didn't get to thank you properly that night." Su Che glanced at Xiao Yi and found that she was quite normal today. She chatted and laughed with him as she worked at the cashier. "Give me a chocolate cake. I still have $3 left. You can take them all. I'll only charge you." As Xiao Yi packed for him, she said, "Seeing how handsome you are, I'm guessing you're no more than 22, but your skills are actually so good." After hearing Xiao Yi's words, Su Che was stunned. Then he took out his ID from his wallet and handed it to Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi took the ID card with a dumbfounded expression. After taking a look, her attitude became respectful. "Big brother, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not that old," Xianxia said lightly as he took back the ID card. "Your chocolate cake is packed. Please take care." Xiaoyi quickly stuck out her tongue. Who would have thought that such a handsome guy who looked so fresh and tender was actually 32 years old? Those people who had been injected with hyaluronic acid would probably die of anger when they saw Xianxia. Xianxia didn't say anything else. He took the cake and turned to push open the glass door of the dessert shop. These things were all to be dedicated to his little nephew. When the little kid saw that Xianxia had bought so many cakes, he naturally flew into the sky. What a joke. Although that lady was a little chubby, her cake was really super delicious. "Uncle, you're really capable. You bought so many at once. Do you know that this cake is limited? One person can only buy one." Was that so? Xianxia didn't know this rule. After all, the person who delivered the cake was always so generous. Last time he even said that he would give him all the pastries in the shop. "Uncle, go chase after that lady. That way I can eat as much as I want. I'm so envious." The little kid sighed as he nibbled on the cake. "Do you really want me to chase after her?" Xianxia sat on his little bed and asked seriously. "Yes, I support you 100%. The child raised his hand and swore. "Actually, she's quite cute. If she can lose weight, she should be a great beauty." Xianxia raised his eyebrows and said to the child, "Then contribute your game account." But the child was suddenly depressed. However, he could register another game account, but if he missed the delicious cake, it would be someone else's. Therefore, the child endured the pain and contributed his Heba primary school. Xianxia got the account and logged in. Sure enough, he saw that Win or Not was also online. Moreover, it had been 3 minutes since the start of the match. Xianxia entered her page and looked at her commonly used heroes. He found that she specifically chose Li Bai and Luna. These were difficult challenges, but her winning rate was less than 20%. This was probably in line with the legend of a fierce tiger. At a glance, he saw that her record was 0-5. Xianxia waited for a moment. In less than 10 minutes, he invited Win or Not. There was a response immediately. "Little Luden, you're online? Are you hiding in bed to play? Can I not choose Li Bai?" Xianxia casually chose little Luban and asked her. "Then I choose Luna." Heba Primary School. In order to prevent Xiaoyi from choosing these two heroes, he quickly left and immediately used money to buy these two heroes. Then he chose Li Bai himself. "Win or Not? Is the primary school student throwing a tantrum with me? Alright then, I'll give Li Bai to you. I'll still use Luna." When the other players saw this, they trembled. They could only hope that their two teammates wouldn't cheat them, okay? After the start of the match, Xiaoyi successfully lost to HP. Moreover, she died fighting the tower. Her teammates mocked her one after another. "Damn, I encounter such a sinkhole every day." It's over. Don't tell me Li Bai is also an idiot? Li Bai, who was fighting in the enemy's jungle, was awe-inspiring at this moment. Seeing this, Xiaoyi immediately understood that this person was not her little disciple but her uncle. 5 minutes later, Xiaoyi confirmed her guess because Li Bai's current record had already put 8 heads in his pocket. Therefore, she could not help but hang up. "Little Luden, you're no longer the little Luden I know. I'm going to blacklist you." Then a game came out and Xianxia found that he had been blacklisted. From this, his curiosity about Xiaoyi grew even stronger. What kind of girl was she? Because he had been blacklisted, the account was useless, so Xianxia returned the account to the little brat. "Brother-in-law, don't tell me you failed to act cool?" Xianxia thought to himself. "Why don't I go straight to the shop to look for her? But wouldn't that be too abrupt? I can only say that Miss Xiaoyi has a very interesting soul." End of this chapter. Chapter 991. After much consideration, Xianxia still didn't do that because he didn't have the status or reason to do so. However, the number of times he came to the dessert shop had obviously increased. When he had nothing to do, he would come over to buy pastries. And because Xiaoyi was his benefactor, she would break her own principles every time and give Xianxia a lot of pastries. In the end, Xianxia's little brat actually gained a few pounds. Big brother Su strictly protested against Xianxia's behavior. If this continued, the child at home would soon get diabetes. If it weren't for the child's game, Xianxia might never have had any interaction with the dessert shop owner. They were people from different worlds, but Xianxia had a lot of curiosity about Xiaoyi. However, in the past few days, Xiaoyi hadn't appeared in her dessert shop. This made Su Che feel an unprecedented sense of loss. Some people, if you saw them every day, you wouldn't feel that they were important. It was only when she suddenly disappeared one day that Su Che figured out something. Because of curiosity, he seemed to have developed a different kind of attention and feelings for this girl. "Handsome, you're here again?" The shop assistant smiled brightly at him. After all, he was an old customer. In addition, he had a good temperament, so the shop assistant was usually more polite to him. "I haven't seen your lady boss in the past few days?" Su Che pretended to ask casually. "The lady boss went to watch some Kings of Glory professional competition." "What's it called?" "I heard that her ex-boyfriend is in one of the teams. I don't know why she still went." "Isn't this reminiscent?" The shop assistant answered as she cashiered. Su Che got the answer and also checked the recent situation of the KPL competition. This girl didn't seem to be afraid of getting hurt. If it were another woman, her ex-boyfriend would definitely smash the game console when he saw it after breaking up. But she seemed to be heartless. Su Che took the pastries and returned to his high-class apartment. Looking at the clean furnishings in his house, he suddenly felt a little lonely. Although there were no tickets for the recent KPL competitions, with his status, it wouldn't be difficult for him to get one. Therefore, after work the next day, he didn't go to the dessert shop again. Instead, he took the ticket for the competition and entered the arena of the esports hall. While the host on stage was still talking nonsense, Su Che turned around and looked for the slightly plump figure. He thought that it would be a little difficult, but under the huge banner he saw Xiao Yi at a glance. Everyone else was here to cheer for their idols. She, on the other hand, was holding a huge banner just to curse the members of a certain professional team. The surrounding audience were all discussing, but she didn't seem to care at all. Su Che chuckled, got up from his seat and walked to Xiao Yi's side. Xiao Yi turned her head and saw that there was someone behind her. She immediately said in surprise, "Why is it you, little brother?" "I'm here to watch the competition, but I was attracted by your huge poster. I realized you were an acquaintance, so I came to say hello." Su Che sat down beside her. "I noticed that you haven't been in the shop for a few days. Have you been here?" "Okay." Xiao Yi rubbed her cold hands and nodded. "I'm here to cheer for that scumbag. It's been a while since the KPL competition. I don't want to go to other cities. It's a waste of my plane ticket money." Xiao Yi was so cold that she was trembling. The two of them were chatting when the security guard walked up and said to Xiao Yi awkwardly, "Miss, you've been holding such a banner for several days in a row. It's really a bad influence on us. Can you please be magnanimous? Take this thing away. Since you've accepted the money, as long as I don't bring any dangerous items, it's none of your business," Xiao Yi said indifferently. "But if you do this, it won't look good for everyone, right?" The security guard was extremely helpless. How did he meet such a brainless weirdo? "You really don't have to waste your energy on me. I won't take this banner." When the security guard heard this, his temper immediately flared up. "We'll refund your money. Can you please leave? Miss, can you please show some respect to the people here? This isn't your private backyard where you can vent your emotions at will. Perhaps I can also tell you where the backstage is. You can go and argue with him personally. Don't affect other people's moods, okay?" "Put it away," Su Che said from beside her. "Using such a clumsy method won't be able to punish the person you want to punish. Why let others laugh at you? What do you want? I can help you. I want to go up and slap that bastard. Can you help me? If this can calm you down, I can help you go backstage." Su Che tried his best to tell her calmly. Su Che tried his best to be calm as he told her, "Since it's punishment and revenge, of course you can't hurt yourself, right? Can you really help me?" Xiao Yi looked at Su Che expectantly. "Yes." After getting Su Che's answer, Xiao Yi finally put away the huge banner. "No one wants to do such an embarrassing thing, but I'd rather be embarrassed than let that bastard have an easy time. There are many ways. For example, publicizing that bastard's shameless actions, or finding someone to secretly beat him up, or finding someone to seduce his current girlfriend and cheat on him. At the very least, sleeping with his coach and becoming his master's wife." When Xiao Yi heard this, she immediately laughed out loud. "What kind of rotten idea is that? That's better than you attracting a crowd here, right? I've sponsored that bastard for 3 years, turning him from a poor loser into a millionaire. I really didn't expect that the first thing he did after he became famous was to kick me away. When Xiao Yi spoke of this matter, her eyes were red, but under the powerful spotlights in the venue, it was not obvious. From now on he's high and mighty and I'm just a pastry chef. It's very difficult for me to even meet him, let alone seek revenge. Then guess what I do? Su Che quickly diverted her attention. Model? Xiao Yi asked him. Oh, you're so skilled. You should be in a profession related to martial arts. Coach? Bodyguard? Don't tell me you're a martial arts actor? You guessed right. I'm a professional bodyguard, Su Che replied. Then aren't you really good at fighting? Xiao Yi became excited. Can you fight 1 against 5? If you're referring to the weak chickens in the competition, I really envy you. No one will dare to bully you. I also hope to become like you. Xiao Yi lowered her head and sighed. Her tone was filled with unconcealable disappointment. Why do you have to become stronger? Just find a strong boyfriend and you'll get it done in one go, right? Su Che suddenly turned his head and looked at Xiao Yi. Shui, I'm that little bastard's uncle. Please remember the domain name of this book. Com. Wonderful Book House's mobile version. Com. Chapter 992. Su Che was just a bodyguard. Xiao Yi's mouth instantly turned into an O shape because the awkward thing was that she had blocked him a few days ago. Are all bodyguards so good at games? After saying that, Xiao Yi wanted to slip away, but she was held back by Su Che. Don't you want to go backstage and slap that scumbag? She did want to, but she didn't want to get into trouble. The man in front of her looked like he wasn't someone to be trifled with. I don't have any ill intentions. Su Che quickly clarified. I discovered it in the game because I was helping my nephew play casually. Can you really help me meet that scumbag? Xiao Yi sat back down and asked Su Che. You can look forward to it, Su Che said with a smile. Ever since she broke up with that scumbag, Xiao Yi had become completely immune to men. As long as she saw a man, she instinctively thought of deception and betrayal. Therefore, after finding out that little Luden's account was his uncle, Xiao Yi immediately blocked him. He was also very wary of Su Che. Men were bastards, right? However, for some reason she couldn't help but feel a sense of trust towards the man in front of her. She had clearly only seen him a few times. She didn't know if the heavens had heard her prayers. In this finals, the scumbag's team had actually lost. Xiao Yi was so excited that she almost jumped up. The heavens really had eyes. When the competition was about to end, Su Che suddenly said to Xiao Yi, "Let's go backstage." Are you serious? Xiao Yi looked at him in disbelief. You'll know when you get there. But their backstage is very strict. If you're not a staff member, you can't enter at all. Xiao Yi followed behind Su Che and said loudly to him. She had already tried many times to find that scumbag, but the backstage security directly kicked her out of the door. Su Che didn't answer her. Instead, he walked in front of her. When they were backstage, he asked Xiao Yi, "Which team is that scumbag in?" Ours. Xiao Yi blurted out. Then Su Che communicated with the person in charge of the venue. After a few minutes, Su Che walked in front of her and said, "You can go in now." You aren't joking? Xiao Yi pointed at the entrance and asked. Try it. Xiao Yi carefully walked up the passageway and found that the security guards on both sides really ignored her. Xiao Yi was instantly excited. She walked to the lounge of each team and RS was the last one. However, just as she approached the lounge, Xiao Yi saw an acquaintance at the door. After all, catching him in the act of adultery was deeply engraved in his heart. The little girl standing in front of the lounge door was the scumbag's cheating partner, a game streamer in the live streaming circle. Seeing Xiao Yi, the other party was also very surprised. However, a moment later she revealed a mocking expression. You're really haunting me. You caused trouble for Anan on the field and did all kinds of embarrassing things. Now you can still find your way backstage. I'm going to look for security. After speaking, the red-haired girl ran towards the security guard. However, the security guard ignored her. I'm sorry, Miss Zhong. This lady is a friend of the curator. I don't have the right to chase her away. She's a liar, you know. She's just a pastry chef. Are you sure she didn't fish in troubled waters? I'm sorry, Miss Zhong. The security guard didn't dare to disobey the curator's order. I'll go look for Anan. The girl was afraid that Xiao Yi would do something even more outrageous. She wanted to escape, but Xiao Yi grabbed the corner of her shirt. You should apologize to me for what happened a few years ago, right? I don't understand what you're talking about. The girl broke free from Xiao Yi's grip and tilted her head to the side. You don't understand? When you were with Mo and Nan, you should have known that he had a girlfriend, right? Fat girl, I'm really not mocking you. Look at you now. Do you think Anan can eat a piece of fat meat like you? The other party couldn't refute the fact that she was a mistress, so she launched a personal attack on Xiao Yi. I have nothing to say to you. I just want an apology. Is it that hard? I have no intention of snatching the scumbag back. I'll give him to you directly, but I want you to apologize to me. Xiao Yi was very stubborn. She wanted the other party to apologize, but she didn't have the capital to make the other party apologize. I'm not apologizing. You damn fatty, let go. Hearing this, Su Che, who was standing at the door, finally walked behind the two of them and asked Xiao Yi, you can't even get an advantage like this. I'm just not as shameless as these people. Su Che guessed that this was the case. After this girl was injured, she couldn't find the right channel to vent, but she couldn't turn herself into a queen of revenge, ruthless and merciless. Therefore, he glanced at the other party and found that the girl had the logo of a certain live streaming platform on her. Are the standards of live streaming platforms so low these days? After saying that, Su Che stopped Xiao Yi and said, you don't have to waste your breath on her. If you really know shame, you wouldn't have done something like snatching someone's love. I happen to know the boss of their platform. Wait a minute, I'll give him a call. Xiao Yi, the other party. After Su Che finished speaking, he took out his phone. He didn't have any other hobbies, so he more or less had some gaming resources. The girl didn't believe that Xiao Yi's friend would know some big CO, so she wasn't afraid of Su Che's words until Su Che picked up the call. Old merchant. Old Su, why do you have time to call me? The other party seemed very excited. Your platform has a streamer named Wang Rui. Can you ban that live streaming room? I'll pay for the breach of contract. What breach of contract? This is a small matter. Don't worry. Our platform won't want someone who has eyes but can't see. I'll deal with her immediately and help you vent your anger. Su Che's expression didn't change, but the phone was on speakerphone. After a short call, Su Che put down his phone with a calm expression. A minute later, Wang Rui's phone rang. She picked up the phone in fear. Then she slid down and the company directly informed her to close down her live streaming room. It hadn't been easy for her to achieve her results, and it hadn't been easy for her to accumulate popularity. Because of a phone call from the other party, all her years of hard work had gone down the drain. Seeing her ugly expression, Xiao Yi turned to look at Su Che with a questioning expression. However, Su Che shrugged and said to her, just now the director told me that after the RS team's competition ended, they left in a car. Because they were eliminated, you probably won't be able to see them today. However, I guarantee that they will definitely look for you because of this woman. Xiao Yi's mouth once again formed a no shape. Who exactly are you? A phone call can decide a person's life and death. I don't believe that you're just a bodyguard. I'm just a bodyguard. Su Che spread his hands, indicating that he was innocent. It was just that the person he was protecting was not ordinary. End of this chapter. Chapter 993. Su Che's Extra 5. You're not fit to call me by my name. Xiao Yi didn't believe Su Che's nonsense at all. How could a bodyguard have a friend like the owner of the dojo and also be brothers with a domineering president? You're protecting the president, right? Su Che could not deny that. After all, Xianxia was someone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the president. No matter what, thank you for today. I didn't get to see the scumbag man. Beating the bitch up was also very satisfying. Maybe you think I'm a lunatic? It's very late now, I'm going home. Thank you, big bodyguard. I'll see you off. No need, I'm driving. Xiao Yi waved the car key in her hand. Come to my shop tomorrow. I'll treat you to the best food. Su Che didn't force her. He only sent Xiao Yi to the entrance of the venue and watched her drive away before he felt relieved. Su Che really didn't understand Xiao Yi. On the surface, she seemed carefree, as if she was very casual about everything. However, for some reason Su Che had a strong premonition. Such a girl's heart must have been thoroughly tempered. Otherwise, how could she be as firm as a rock? When she returned home, Xiao Yi immediately locked herself in the dark living room. She never opens the curtains because she is used to the darkness. In the few years that she was abandoned by that scumbag, she had suffered a lot and suffered from all kinds of mental illnesses. The reason why her body was fat was because of the side effects of taking medicine. She couldn't accept it and she couldn't forgive him, so she trapped herself in this small space. It seemed that this was the only way she wouldn't be cheated and betrayed. The feeling of being hurt by love could only be understood by those who had experienced it. As she cried, she laughed, and as she laughed, she suddenly burst into tears. Xiao Yi felt like she was a walking corpse. She had tried all kinds of ways to save herself, but to this day she still couldn't extricate herself from the whirlpool of betrayal. Su Che was outside Xiao Yi's house. He watched as Xiao Yi entered the small courtyard, but the lights in the house were not on. He could see a faint figure in the house under the streetlight. Did she like the dark? Filled with curiosity, Su Che drove home, but lying on the bed at home he couldn't fall asleep. This was because Xiao Yi was really a strange girl. It was as if she was wearing layers of masks, making people want to unveil her layer by layer. There was even a moment when Su Che felt that Xiao Yi was a little abnormal. How badly was she injured? Lying on the bed, Su Che really wanted to know the answer. But after tossing and turning, he could only think of one person, and that was Xiao Yi's brother. Perhaps this hoodlum could give him an answer. The next day after Su Che got off work, he found out where Xiao Yi's brother lived and drove to the small shop. Compared to his sister's talent, Xiao Yi's brother could only rely on selling some small department stores to make a living. However, he was a gambler. After losing the bet, he didn't dare to tell his wife about it, so he could only look for his sister. This man was called Xiao Tong. After being kicked by Su Che that day, he had to lie in bed for 2 days. When he was finally able to get out of bed, he did not expect to see the nightmare of Su Che again. Seeing that the other party was about to run, Su Che quickly went forward to stop him. "I'm not here to cause trouble for you." Xiao Tong curled up into a ball and looked at Su Che defensively. It was because that kick was deeply engraved in his heart. Su Che sat down beside Xiao Tong and expressed his purpose for coming to him. When the other party heard this, he knew that this man was interested in his sister. "I can tell you about her past, but you have to help me pay off the 100,000 yuan gambling debt I owe." Xiao Tong demanded an exorbitant price. Just from Su Che's clothes, he knew that his identity was extraordinary. "I can pay off your gambling debt, but you can't continue gambling, especially not your sister." Su Che agreed, but there were conditions. Xiao Tong thought for a moment and nodded. "It's a deal. Tell me your account number. I'll transfer it to you later. But Xiao Tong, don't play tricks with me. I can monitor your movements at any time." Su Che warned in a serious tone. "I really didn't expect that there would be someone in this world who would be willing to spend money for my sister. I admit that I'm a bastard, but compared to the bastard she met, I really can't compare." Xiao Tong sat on the ground with a sarcastic expression. "You probably know that scumbag. He's now a professional player with an annual income of 10 million yuan. But who would have thought that he was so poor that he had to ask my sister for money to eat? My sister sponsored him for 3 years and helped him join an awesome team. But who knew that as soon as he had some achievements, he would get together with another woman and dump my sister?" When Xiao Yi first broke up with her love, she liked to cry. Later she became moody. "You haven't been to her house. There's no light at all. She never draws the curtains. She's also a pitiful person. She even has a brother like me who likes to gamble. There was a period of time when she took all kinds of medicine to treat her heart disease. The side effect of that thing was that it made her like this. For that scumbag, Xiao Yi even abandoned her grandmother who loved her the most. In the end, she lost both her life and her money. Don't you think that bastard is a beast? Since you know that your sister is already living a life worse than death, why do you still want to be the one who oppresses her?" Su Che asked calmly. "Don't you feel sorry for your own sister when she was hurt like this? Xiao Yi is like that. No one can cure her." Xiao Tong sighed. "Do you think I haven't worked hard? I wasn't born into gambling. It was only after my business failed that I became like this. Alright, I've told you everything you want to know. If you want to chase after my sister, I advise you to stop worrying. Her current state is already as calm as water." Xiao Tong waved his hand, looking helpless. "It's easy to treat an injured body, but an injured heart can't be treated unless she walks out of it herself. My sister used to be a very beautiful woman. What a pity. No wonder there was no light in her courtyard. It turned out that she had yet to walk out of her pain." Knowing the root of the problem, Su Che also felt that it was very troublesome. Although he understood why Xiao Yi was so strange, if he really wanted to cure Xiao Yi, he would probably need extreme patience and love. But the main problem was that scumbag. Today's game was equally boring. Just as Xiao Yi was sitting in the shop playing games in boredom, a person she hated to the bone appeared in the dessert shop. Mo and Nan. Xiao Yi. Sure enough, this scumbag had come to find trouble with her for his so-called girlfriend. Xiao Yi put down her phone and got up from her chair. In front of the shop assistant, she walked up to the man. You don't deserve to call my name. End of this chapter. Chapter 994. You still have the nerve to talk about me? It's been so many years. You should give up, right? I didn't expect you to be so stubborn. It's enough for you to pester me. Why do you have to hurt others? Mo and Nan stood at the door with his hands on his hips, questioning Xiao Yi angrily. In the past I still felt a little guilty towards you, but you made Cindy lose her job. Now I only despise you. I only think you're disgusting. Tell me, what do you want to do for you to let me go? As long as I return the money I owe you, will you stop pestering me? As Mo and Nan spoke, he took out his wallet from his trouser pocket and took out a bank card. There's $1 million in here. It's enough to pay off the debt for the past few years. If you know what's good for you, take this money and leave Jianchuan. Don't ever appear in front of me again. Seeing that there were people coming and going in the shop assistant quickly closed the door and hung up the resting sign. Although they had long heard of the existence of such a scumbag, they had never known that he was so bad. Today when they saw him in person, they immediately felt that the lady boss was really pitiful. Xiao Yi didn't say anything. She picked up the card that the scumbag had thrown on the table, broke it and threw it at the scumbag's face. Get out of here. You think it's not enough? Mo and Nan laughed mockingly and took out another card. 2 million should be enough, right? What an insatiable B*TC. Seeing such a scumbag, the dessert shop assistant was furious to the extreme. Looking at Xiao Yi again, her eyes were red and mocking and her body was on the verge of collapse. She wanted nothing more than to tear this scumbag apart. However, at that moment, Su Chei's figure appeared outside the dessert shop. Of course, he saw the words resting, but there were a lot of people watching outside the door, so he guessed that something must have happened. When the dessert shop assistant saw Su Chei's figure, she quickly went to open the door because they knew that this little brother had extraordinary skills. Little brother helped the store manager. That scumbag is really inhumane. Su Chei raised his eyebrows and looked at Xiao Yi. He saw that her eyes were red and her hands were clenched into fists. If he looked closely, he could see that her body was trembling slightly. From the looks of it, she had suffered great humiliation and grievance. Looking at the ground, it was a broken bank card. Su Chei understood what was going on and walked in front of Xiao Yi. You're the one who wanted to see him. Why is it that when you see him you're not as shameless as him? Who are you? Mo and Nan looked at Su Chei as if he was scrutinizing him. There was a hint of mockery in the corner of his mouth. Xiao Yi, your taste is really getting more and more complicated. You don't even let go of such tender meat. Is it worth it for you to remember this kind of person for so many years? Su Chei couldn't understand. How bad was your judgment in the past? Xiao Yi looked at Su Chei and didn't do. You don't think it's worth it, do you? That's why you're like this. Go away. Xiao Yi to say. Xiao Yi to say. Her to she to xiao to she to she. You Xiao. And Nan to you. Do to xiao to it to say. It you? You're only in your early 20s. How can you do that? I'm in charge of Xiao Yi, so don't appear in front of her in the future. As he spoke, Su Chei took the bank card from the scumbag's hand and asked, how much is in it? 2 million. The scumbag answered in a very rich manner. Su Chei threw it to Xiao Yi and said directly, someone is giving me money. Why wouldn't I want it? Besides, you deserve it. If you think this money is dirty, there's a way. The money in here is enough to hire 10 bodyguards and keep him in bed for half a year. After the shop assistant heard this, she felt that it made sense. Xiao was awesome. That's right, store manager. Wouldn't it be the best of both worlds if we used this money to beat him up? After Xiao Yi heard this, she felt that it made sense. Why did she stupidly not accept it just now? Why would she talk about feelings and character with this scumbag? It's illegal to hire a hitman to beat someone up. It's fine. I'm familiar with the police station. As long as he's not dead, I'll guarantee your safety. Su Che was tired from talking, so he simply sat down on the chair. Brat, even if you want to brag, you should come up with a draft. With your appearance, come out and pick up. Before the word girl could leave his mouth, the scumbag's body had already flown to the wall and then landed heavily on the ground. Xiao Yi and the shop assistant were dumbfounded. With this skill, could he be an ancient martial arts master? Why did you force me to do it? The scumbag lay on the ground and moaned in pain. I want to call the police. Su Che walked forward and stepped on the back of the man's hand, ruthlessly ravaging it. Do you need me to call the police? After saying that, Su Che took out his phone for him and pressed the button to call the police. After he called the police, Su Che let go of his foot and looked at Xiao Yi. Take a good look. Think about why you should waste your life for such a person. Is it worth it? Xiao Yi was stunned. In the past few years she had tried her best to see this scumbag, and she even had an obsession. But now that she had seen him as she wished and knew that he was such a beast, she felt that it was really not worth it. Hit him. Is it really okay? He called the police. Just let the police come. After saying that, Su Che stepped on the back of the scumbag's hand again. Xiao Yi was still worried. It was not worth it to tangle with the police for such a scumbag, but Su Che gestured for her to relax. A moment later, the police entered the dessert shop. When the scumbag saw that help had arrived, he hurriedly cried and stepped forward. Officer, it's him who hit me. I want to check my injuries. However, the few police officers who came in ignored him. They just walked up to Su Che and asked, Special Assistant Su, what happened? His hands and feet are dirty and his mouth is even dirtier, so I taught him a lesson. Su Che let go of his foot and said, Don't you think so? Su Che tilted his head and asked the shop assistants. The few of them immediately nodded. Yes, officer. This scumbag is stealing from the shop. Officer, he hit someone for no reason. Mo and Nan quickly shouted. If you don't believe me, ask the neighbors outside. Do you know who he is? The police asked Mo and Nan. Zhongting CEO's personal bodyguard, special assistant and Jianchuan's operations consultant. I've only seen Special Assistant Su catch criminals. Mo and Nan was stunned. He was stunned when he heard the words Zhongting. Since you said that Special Assistant Su hit you, fine, we'll take you to check your injuries now. You should go back and prepare a lawyer or something. Just sue him. Mo and Nan was stunned. Who didn't know that Jianchuan was now Zhongting's world? If he sued Su Che, he wouldn't be able to continue staying in Jianchuan. I'm sorry, officer. It was my own hand that was cheap. It had nothing to do with Special Assistant Su. I fell on my own. The shop assistant couldn't help but laugh. This scumbag's attitude had changed too much. Chapter 995. Next time you have to wear your eyes when you go out. Polish your eyes. Do you understand? Mo and Nan glanced at Xiao Yi and nodded at the police with a trembling voice. I'll definitely pay attention next time. Then will you come looking for trouble next time? Su Che raised his chin and asked the scumbag. Mo and Nan quickly waved his hand. Since I know that Xiao Yi has such a powerful backer, how could I have the guts? Since you know, when you see Xiao Yi in the future, take a detour. Otherwise, not to mention your little girlfriend, even you will have to disappear from the esports circle. At this moment, Su Che was like a knight who had descended from the sky, teaching this scumbag a lesson. I got it. I'll remember it. Then I'll leave first. After saying that, Mo and Nan wanted to leave, but he was stopped by Su Che. Don't you have one more important thing to do? Su Che pointed at Xiao Yi with his chin and asked the scumbag. Mo and Nan glanced at Xiao Yi and took 2 steps forward. He apologized to Xiao Yi while trembling with fear. I'm the one who's cheap. Please forgive me. At this moment, Xiao Yi finally saw clearly what kind of man she had wasted her time on for so many years. She suddenly felt a little bored. Therefore, thousands of words could only be condensed into one word: scram. Mo and Nan scrammed, and he completely scrammed. Su Che looked at the police officers in the area and quickly thanked them. In the future, I hope you guys can help me take care of the dessert shop. Of course. Special Assistant Su, your friend is our friend. After saying that, the police officers left one after another. At this moment, the dessert shop finally quietened down. Lady Boss, little brother is so handsome. You should express something, right? The waiter in the shop gave Xiao Yi a push. This is the perfect hero saving the damsel in distress. So romantic. Xiao Yi looked at Su Che and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. She ran out of the shop awkwardly. Little brother, hurry up and chase after her. Su Che got up and followed Xiao Yi out. The two of them walked along the river to the bridge. Xiao Yi suddenly turned around and looked at Su Che. You're very strange. Why did you suddenly help me? Are you pitying me? Maybe it's just that it can't bear to see you waste your life at such a young age. Su Che leaned against the railing and answered Xiao Yi softly, I thought you were very strange before. After understanding the truth of the matter, I felt that you were very pitiful. I don't understand why you would spend your time on those unworthy people. I am very stupid, right? Xiao Yi covered her face and squatted down. But I can't control myself. I'm not a normal person, you know? I have to take medicine to maintain a life that others think is ordinary. That's because you've experienced too little. Tomorrow afternoon I'll take you to a place so that you can experience what true life is. Xiao Yi still felt that it was very strange because she was not related to Su Che. Could it be that her existence was just to satisfy Su Che's curiosity? However, she really wanted to know what the true life that Su Che spoke of was. Therefore, she couldn't reject Su Che because she couldn't find a reason to. When she returned to the shop, Xiao Yi was in a daze. She didn't remember what she had said to Su Che, but in fact she had already foolishly given all her contact information to Su Che, including her game account. Lady boss, what did you say to little big brother? He helped you so much. No matter what, you should at least give him a hug or a kiss, right? Xiao Yi's attention was pulled back by the waiter beside her. She glared at him and said, Do you think he would like someone like me? But I don't think Special Assistant Su is such a shallow person. Look, he's the bodyguard and special assistant of the CEO of Zhongting, and he's also the operational consultant of the Jianchuan police. With such high-quality resources, he's like heaven and earth compared to that scumbag, okay? Please don't waste God's gifts recklessly. Handsome people are all working hard to live. What reason do you have to give up on yourself? After listening to the shop assistant's description, Xiao Yi's mind became much clearer. It wasn't that she hadn't tried to start over, but every time she thought of that scumbag she would be dragged into hell again. Lady boss, you have to work hard. Xiao Yi felt upset, so she took her phone and sat by the window. Every time she had something on her mind she would take out the game and play for a while. This had nothing to do with that scumbag. After all, the game was innocent. However, just as she logged into the game she was added by an unfamiliar number. She took a closer look and saw that the person's ID was, I'll let you win. Wasn't this obvious? It was undoubtedly Su Che. Xiao Yi accepted his addition, and in the next second she was pulled into the ranking board by him. This person had just been talking to her about the principles of life. How many hours had it been? It was a waste of time to drag her along. This time his hero pool was no longer just little Luden. Xiao Yi chose an archer Yuji while Su Che was still the cool Han Exin. Standing in the crowd he looked really awe-inspiring. Su Che didn't say anything. He focused on playing the game with Xiao Yi, but Xiao Yi was too stupid. She was always targeted by the opponent's assassin, Sun Wukong. Therefore, Su Che didn't do anything else in this round. He could lose the game, but Sun Wukong had to die. Therefore, Han Exin stayed in different places in the canyon, waiting for Monkey to send a message. Han Exin, can you let me go? I'm still a child. Han Exin, because you did something wrong. The enemy monkey was traumatized. I only caught a bunch of archers. Han Exin, this is the reason why you're being hunted. Monkey, why didn't you say so earlier? Why are you showing off your love while playing a game? I'm hanging up. Han Exin didn't say anything else. After a wave of 5 kills he led his teammates to win the canyon. Xiao Yi looked at Su Che and Han Exin's profile picture. For some reason this seemed to be the first time in her life that someone had protected her. So after putting down her phone she started crying. When the people in the shop saw this, they couldn't help but mutter, "What's wrong with the shop manager?" After playing around, Su Che came out to look at her. It was up to him whether he won or not. Su Che thought for a moment and sent a message to Xiao Yi. Remember that we have an appointment tomorrow. Xiao Yi really wanted to reply that she didn't want to go, but when she recalled Su Che's serious expression, she couldn't bear to refuse. Remember. Why did you go down just now? You don't like me playing games with you? I just want you to relax a little. How could Xiao Yi say that it was so embarrassing that she cried because she was moved? My phone is out of battery. Su Che didn't reply for a long time. When he was about to sleep, he asked Xiao Yi, "Do you want to try living seriously?" Living seriously? Xiao Yi almost didn't know how to write seriously. But for some reason when it came from Su Che's mouth, it was very attractive. Chapter 996. This was the first time Su Che had asked Xianxia to get off work early for a girl. Xianxia, who had been a father for a long time, realized that he cared too little about his subordinates. Therefore he nodded without hesitation and even asked Su Che if an hour was not enough. Su Che only needed an hour and he had made an agreement with Mu Qiqi. He applied to bring someone into the forensics laboratory to observe, and it was a girl. After Mu Qiqi heard this, her hand holding the scalpel could not help but tremble. Su Che had been alone for so many years. He suddenly had an idea and wanted to bring a girl on a date. He was actually going to the forensics laboratory of the Jianchuan branch to watch her dissect a dead person. Was this person's brain okay? Su Che, why don't you go somewhere else? There are many fun places under Zhongting and Huangyao. Do you want to reconsider? No need, young madam. Special people need special treatment. Su Che did not appreciate this at all. Whether it was the Crystal Music Hall or the 5D cinema, as long as it was a place that girls yearned for, it was nothing to Xiao Yi. She needed excitement now. She needed to be reactivated. All right then, I'll apply to Chief Tang. However, don't regret it. I won't be responsible if you scare someone. Mu Qiqi put the ugly words first. Don't worry, young madam. After hanging up, Mu Qiqi quickly called Xianxia to confirm if Su Che had gone crazy. I don't know who the other party is, but from the looks of it, Su Che seems to be serious. I've never seen someone flirt like this. He brought someone to watch the autopsy? Mu Qiqi did not know whether to laugh or cry. This is Su Che's matter. Let him handle it himself. I'll come and pick you up tonight. Xianxia changed the topic to Mu Qiqi. Little Qi went to the Shen family today. When Mu Qiqi heard this, she immediately knew what he meant. On such days, the couple would definitely have a romantic day outside. It could be Zhongting's office or it could be some beautiful hotel. Got it. I'll get off work after Su Che comes to observe. When Xianxia received the message that Mu Qiqi was not going to work overtime, he nodded in satisfaction. Good girl. Be good, be good. Mu Qiqi rolled her eyes. She was already 25 or 26 years old, yet she was being coaxed by this man like a 17-year-old girl. However, when she thought about how she would be able to see the woman Su Che liked later, Mu Qiqi's heart was filled with anticipation. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Su Che drove to the dessert shop. This was the first time Xiao Yi and her shop assistant saw Su Che's car. It was actually an extremely cool Maybach. Lady Boss, little brother is here. The shop assistant winked at Xiao Yi, signaling her to look out the window. Xiao Yi looked up and saw that Su Che was so high profile. She immediately felt a little embarrassed, so she picked up the leather bag in the cabinet and went out. Stop gossiping. Su Che didn't mean to cause such a commotion. It was just that the motorcycle was being repaired and he had no other choice. When Xiao Yi got into the car, she deliberately glared at him. Su Che knew why. When the two of them were halfway there, Su Che explained, I'm in a hurry today, so my other car is being repaired. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. I thought you came here to flaunt your wealth. It turned out that Xiao Yi could also joke around. Su Che ignored her sarcasm and drove the Maybach all the way to the entrance of the Jianchuan branch office. Seeing that they were at the entrance of the police station, Xiao Yi was a little puzzled. Could it be that this is the place where you want me to learn about life again? You'll know when you go in, Su Che tilted his head and answered. Xiao Yi didn't understand. After Su Che parked the car, she followed behind him. As for the people at the police station, they were already used to Su Che's appearance. They only nodded in greeting. Occasionally, a few people expressed interest in the little woman behind him, but they didn't associate it with a relationship. After all, not many people were willing to bring their girlfriends to a place like the police station, right? Yet Su Che was such a weirdo. Xiao Yi followed closely behind Su Che, but soon she felt uncomfortable. Why was it getting colder as she walked? Soon Su Che pushed open the door of the forensic laboratory. At that moment, Mu Qiqi was sitting in front of the dissection table in a white coat. Seeing the two of them appear, Mu Qiqi blinked at Su Che. Aren't you going to introduce yourself first? I know you. Xiao Yi immediately answered before Su Che could. You're too famous, forensic Dr. Mu. I'm Xiao Yi, Su Che's friend, a pastry chef. Seeing that the other party had reached out, Mu Qiqi smiled and raised her white gloves. Smells good. I'll shake it next time. Xiao Yi smiled and didn't mind. Seeing that the other party didn't care about trifles, Mu Qiqi walked around the corpse's head and continued to say to Xiao Yi, "This is the first time Su Che brought a girl out. I thought he would choose to go to some romantic place, but he called me in the afternoon and actually wanted to bring you to see the corpse. He told me that he wanted me to get to know life again," Xiao Yi explained with a smile. Xiao Yi explained with a smile. Her round face looked really cute even though she was older than Mu Qiqi. I see. Mu Qiqi understood Su Che's intentions. In that case, come and take a look. If you want to be Su Che's girlfriend, of course, you have to know what kind of things and people he has come into contact with. Mu Qiqi didn't wait for her to explain and directly removed the white cloth that had covered the body of the corpse. After Xiao Yi saw it, she was so scared that her face turned pale. However, when she saw the corpse in front of her, half of its head had collapsed. It was as terrifying as it could be. Su Che quickly supported Xiao Yi. Then the two of them heard Mu Qiqi's explanation. This old man was killed by a stone at a construction site. When he died, he was 74 years old. He had a 98-year-old mother and a paralyzed wife to support. He had no children. After being hit, he didn't die on the spot. His strong will to live allowed him to hold on for 6 hours. In the end, he didn't make it through because his injuries were too serious. If this is what Su Che wants you to see, then I can tell you a lot of such stories. After hearing Mu Qiqi's description, Xiao Yi was naturally shocked. She had only lost a relationship, but she was already dying. It was no wonder that Su Che would bring her to this cold dissection room. People who appear on the dissection table are never willing to die just like that, especially this old man. He was deliberately stoned to death. They are the people who cherish life the most in this world, but God didn't give them this chance. Xiao Yi, although I don't understand why Su Che brought you here, it's too easy to die. It's difficult to live with dignity. Chapter 997. After coming out of the forensics laboratory, Xiao Yi fell into deep thought. After all, both Mu Qiqi and Su Che had indeed taught her a lesson that she would never forget. On the way home, Xiao Yi peeked at Su Che a few times. When she reached the finish line, she finally couldn't help but thank Su Che. Thank you for today. It's really a rare experience in life. Although it's a little strange to bring a girl to see a corpse. Don't just let the body live. That's a walking corpse. You have to let the soul be ignited as well. That's true living. Su Che tilted his head to look at Xiao Yi, his eyes full of seriousness. At this moment, Xiao Yi responded to Su Che's gaze. She finally felt something different about Su Che. Mu Qiqi also had this kind of thing. It was a kind of reverence and cherishing for life. You look down on me, don't you? Xiao Yi was a little self-deprecating. Every day I hide in my shell and feel sorry for myself. I'm not willing to give my heart to others. In your heart, I must be a very bad person. Oh. Su Che shook his head. At first I was curious about how badly you could live your life. Now I'm curious about how well you can live your life. You're really confident in me. Xiao Yi couldn't help but laugh. I've always had a good eye for people. After hearing Su Che's words, Xiao Yi suddenly had an idea. Don't send me home. I want to go to another place first. Su Che raised his eyebrows slightly. But we're already at your door. Let's go back to the dessert shop first. Let's go. Su Che saw her hand on his shoulder and couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps it was because she was chubby and cute, or perhaps it was because Xiao Yi was finally willing to open her heart to others. Therefore he was willing to turn around for Xiao Yi. The two of them returned to the dessert shop late at night. By this time the shop assistant was already preparing to close. However, when they saw the lady boss and Su Che return together, they winked at each other. It seemed that their date today had been very enjoyable. Xiao Yi brought Su Che to the dessert-making room and put on the pastry chef's hat. Su Che stood beside her and watched as she took out all kinds of ingredients. You're going to make pastries? I've been researching a new product for the past few days, but I still don't know what to use for it. It was your words just now that woke me up. Have a seat, I might need 2 hours. Are you busy? Su Che looked at the chair beside him and sat down. There's no hurry. That's good. I'll let you be the first to taste it later. After saying that, Xiao Yi lowered her head. This was completely different from how she usually played games. It was as if only when she was making her beloved pastries would she be completely immersed and reveal her serious side. Suche, it's your honor. I've never let anyone see how I make pastries. Suche smiled faintly. When he saw the flour on her forehead, he couldn't help but reach out to wipe it off for her. The two of them were stunned at the same time. Suche's expression didn't change, but Xiao Yi became a little unnatural. So she stopped what she was doing and asked Suche with one hand on her waist, Why are you so good to me? Suche shrugged. Of course it's to pursue you. What other reason could there be? Are you kidding me? Xiao Yi pointed at her body with an incredulous expression. Do you know how heavy I am? I don't mind. You're just right, Suche said in a relaxed manner. In your heart, am I such a shallow person? Of course, Xiao Yi didn't mean that. She just felt that she wasn't used to God suddenly being so good to her. Moreover, how could she be worthy of Suche? Don't you think you're a flower? Suche sat on the chair with his arms crossed, a slight smile on his face. So was she comparing herself to cow dung? Try living seriously. Everything will become very different. When that time comes, you'll probably still despise a boorish person like me who only knows how to use force. You're not a boorish person, Xiao Yi retorted. How could there be such a boorish person with such a good character? It's just that, as you know, I've carried a lot of things in the past. I need time to recover now, so I might not be able to accept your feelings for a relationship in the short term. It's fine, Suche said frankly. Suche said frankly, as long as you allow me to appear in your sight for 2 to 3 days, it'll be fine. Xiao Yi naturally couldn't refuse this. Moreover, Suche was already an adult. She couldn't control him. I'll continue making pastries. Suche nodded and gestured for her to continue. On the other hand, Xiao Yi suddenly felt embarrassed because Suche's frankness made her feel especially awkward. But in the end, Suche couldn't accompany Xiao Yi to the end because he received a call from Tang Yan. I thought that after you get off work all your time is yours. Xiao Yi walked Suche out the door. Sometimes the branch office has important missions and will let me participate in the operations, Suche replied. Is it okay for you to go home by yourself? What kind of mission? It's very dangerous. Suche could only answer this way. After all, it was impossible for him to tell Xiao Yi the details of the mission. Well then go quickly. I'll pack up and go home. Xiao Yi took out her car keys. I'll wait for you to have time to make this new product. Suche nodded slightly. After walking out of the dessert shop, he immediately got into his flashy luxury car. Xiao Yi watched Suche leave. Suddenly she felt deep respect for Suche. Was this person a city hero? He would go wherever he was needed. Thinking of herself, Xiao Yi decisively locked the door of her dessert shop. When she entered her own house, she reached out and turned on the lights. In all these years, this was the first time she had turned on the lights at night. Not only that, but she also mustered up the courage to open the curtains of her house. Life really shouldn't be so delicate. After all, there were people who had to go out late at night to fight for the peace of this city. And why did she have to make herself feel so bad? That night Xiao Yi thought about a lot. She also spent the whole night sorting out all the dark things in her house and throwing them into the trash can outside the courtyard. She was determined to throw away her past self. The next morning, Xiao Yi packed her simple luggage and left the house because she had decided to move to a more sunny residence. However, because she hadn't found a suitable place yet, she left her luggage in the dessert shop. When the shop assistant saw this, she couldn't help but guess, "Lady boss, you're moving too fast. Are you going to stay at Special Assistant Sue's house?" "What nonsense are you talking about? I just want to change houses. I haven't found a suitable place for the time being." "Then go to my place." Suche, who suddenly pushed open the door and entered, said to Xiao Yi with a tired expression, "I can vacate the 3rd floor for you to do dessert research." Xiao Yi was instantly flustered. Wasn't this person coming too fast? Chapter 998. You haven't been home since last night? I wasn't allowed to drive over last night, so I parked my car near your house. This morning I found out that your house was for sale, Suche explained simply. I thought you'd slipped away. Xiao Yi blushed and quickly said, I just wanted a change of environment. I just heard it. That's why I asked you to come to my house. The shop assistant looked at the two of them ambiguously and then silently retreated to the side, leaving the space for the two of them. If you do this, others will think that we're together. You don't have to be so nervous. I'm going to collect rent. Su Che put one hand in his pants pocket and smiled at Xiao Yi. I'll give you the key. I'll send the address to your phone later. You can go take a look when you have time. Okay. Thinking about it carefully, Xiao Yi didn't seem to have any reason to refuse. Then I'll see you tonight. Seeing that Xiao Yi didn't refuse, Su Che put down the key and pushed the door open to leave. Xiao Yi looked at the key and soon received the address that Su Che had sent her. However, looking at the line of words that appeared on the phone screen, she felt that things shouldn't be developing in that direction. She hadn't gotten over the pain of the previous man, and now she was going to get involved with another man? Xiao Yi felt that this was unfair to Su Che, and it was also irresponsible to herself. Now she had a bunch of shortcomings. She didn't want to appear in Su Che's life in such a way. So Xiao Yi suddenly made a decision. Today was Christmas Eve and it was also Mu Qiqi's birthday. Su Che got off work early, but when he went home he didn't see Xiao Yi as he had hoped. Then he went to the dessert shop. When the shop assistant saw him, she quickly took out the key and a letter that Xiao Yi had left for him. I'm sorry, Su Che. I don't think I can agree to your invitation because stability isn't what I need right now. I want to go out and take a look. I want to know what kind of beautiful things I've wasted all these years. I also want to become a better version of myself, so I'm leaving. I don't know which country I'm going to and I don't know how long I'll be gone, but I'll remember what you said. I'll think of a way to make myself live a real life. After reading it, Su Che put away the letter and looked at the key in his hand with a slightly helpless expression. Assistant, this is a gift from the store manager. She wishes you a happy Christmas Eve. The shop assistant handed the Santa Claus cake that Xiao Yi had prepared before she left to Su Che. In fact, this outcome was within Su Che's expectations. Because of Xiao Yi, she was a girl with independent thoughts. It was just that in the past she had lost her way in the midst of hurt. Since this was her choice, then let him see what kind of transformation she would undergo. For the next 6 months, Su Che never saw Xiao Yi again. He didn't even have any news about her. He still went to her dessert shop often, although the taste of the pastries had been greatly reduced after Xiao Yi left. He would still log into the game occasionally to see if Xiao Yi would be bored. However, Xiao Yi had disappeared very completely, so the profile picture box in her friends list had always been dark. Ever since she left, it had never lit up again. From then on, Su Che's life returned to normal. Mu Qiqi and Xianxia found it strange. Could it be that he really wanted to encourage the girl out of kindness? Su Che, another half a year has passed. Shouldn't you bring the next girl to see me dissect? Mu Qiqi had once asked Su Che indirectly. Did he really want to be a bachelor for the rest of his life? I don't have anyone I like for the time being. Su Che wasn't waiting for Xiao Yi on purpose. He just felt that there was still a faint connection between him and Xiao Yi. Uncle Su, Tang Xiaobao already has a girlfriend. Why don't you have one yet? Little Qi sat on the sofa, nibbling on her bread as she asked Su Che. The Tang Xiaobao she mentioned was the treasure of Tang Yan's family. That's because Xiaobao is amazing. Is it because Daddy doesn't want to send Uncle a girlfriend? Little Qi looked innocent. After Mu Qiqi heard this, her forehead was filled with black lines. She suddenly felt that her daughter had indeed inherited more from her. It's because Uncle hasn't met the real fated person yet. How's my mommy? Uncle Su, let my mommy be your girlfriend. That way no one will snatch Daddy from me. Mu Qiqi, Su Che, Little Qi, I think this is a good suggestion. Why don't you tell Daddy when he comes back? Mu Qiqi deliberately set a trap. She wanted Master Xiao to throw her daughter into the cold palace. Okay. Little Qi didn't realize at all that this was her mother's love. She was only happy that she could dominate her father. Su Che didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so he found an excuse to leave the banyan courtyard. For someone like the young madam, only Xianxia could know what was going on in her heart. As for him, he should just continue to be single. Returning to this land after half a year, Xiao Yi felt as if it was a lifetime ago. When she appeared at the entrance of the dessert shop again, her shop assistant didn't recognize her at a glance. She thought she was a customer. I'm sorry, but the shop is already closed. So when I'm not around, you guys are all so lazy, Xiao Yi replied as she crossed her arms and looked at them. Then she felt the stunned gazes of the few people. Oh my God, store manager. Is that you? Store manager? You've lost weight and you know how to dress up. The Xiao Yi in front of her was no longer that chubby little girl. She had lost a lot of weight. Moreover, because she had become beautiful after losing weight, she was much more confident. Store manager, quickly tell me what happened to you in the past 6 months? At this moment, Xiao Yi was wearing a white spaghetti strap dress. She looked fashionable and intellectual. She had indeed changed her appearance. She was no longer the Xiao Yi who would be afraid of the dark for a man. If you want to hear a story, you have to wait for me to sit down first, right? Xiao Yi rolled her eyes. Actually, she had already expected that when she returned to the shop, it would definitely cause a stir. In the past 6 months, she had traveled to 23 countries and constantly volunteered. It was also because of this busy schedule that she had unknowingly lost so much weight. It was never intentional. Then, store manager, are you still leaving now that you're back? Xiao Yi shook her head. I'm tired from walking. I want to rest. Then have you contacted Special Assistant Sue in the past 6 months? The shop assistant asked again. This time Xiao Yi didn't answer because she didn't know how to answer. What right did she have to make people wait for her? Chapter 999. The shop assistant looked at her expression and knew that she was wasting natural resources. She said helplessly, although you are heartless, Special Assistant Sue still comes over every few days, even if our cake is expensive and unpalatable. Speaking of which, he came here today. Xiao Yi fiddled with her long curly hair, her expression a little complicated. Do as you see fit. Xiao Yi scratched her bangs. For a moment she really didn't know what to do with Su Che. She still had Su Che's contact information in her phone. Looking at her suitcase, she took out her phone and dialed Su Che's number. Hello? Who is this? On the other end of the phone, Su Che didn't have Xiao Yi's new phone number. This is Xiao Yi. Do you want to come out for a drink? I'm going back to the shop, Xiao Yi asked directly over the phone. I'll be there in half an hour, Su Che replied in a deep voice after a few seconds of pause. After a short exchange, Xiao Yi hung up the phone. However, after putting down the phone, she saw her employees giving her a thumbs up. Store manager, you've changed. You've become more confident and you're willing to try and communicate. Just because I called Su Che? Xiao Yi smiled faintly. That was because this group of people had never seen her when she was abroad. She was now used to kissing foreigners on the cheek, and she was also used to wearing fashionable and sexy clothes. When she met handsome men, she would strike up a conversation. When she walked on the bustling streets, she would also look forward to romantic encounters. Of course, she only thought about it in her heart and had never put it into action. You guys can get off work first. Take out all the wine, Xiao Yi said to the employees. I wish you and Special Assistant Sue a pleasant evening. The employees winked at her ambiguously. Xiao Yi recalled Su Che's appearance. In fact, she could only remember a rough outline, but she still remembered his figure clearly. A pleasant evening? She made it sound as if something was going to happen. Xiao Yi laughed. After the employees left, she walked to the kitchen counter and began to mix drinks. This was a new interest she had recently fallen in love with. Half an hour later, Su Che arrived at Xiao Yi's shop. The moment he pushed open the door, he could no longer see the chubby Xiao Yi from before. The woman standing in front of the kitchen counter was sexy and charming. She seemed to have been deeply influenced by foreign countries. From her dressing to her appearance, she was more like a European and American woman. Xiao Yi felt the burning gaze, so she raised her head and placed a cup of Long Island iced tea in front of Su Che. Sit and try how it tastes. Have you changed from making pastries to mixing drinks? Xiao Yi couldn't deny it. She poured herself a glass of brandy and walked out of the kitchen counter to take a seat opposite Su Che. Su Che picked up the wine glass and took a sip before putting it down. You've changed a lot in the past 6 months. Yes, it's quite big. Xiao Yi nodded and smiled. I've tried many things and seen many things that I've never experienced before. You, on the other hand, haven't changed much. 2 days ago, young madam asked me when I would bring a girl to see her dissection again. Am I interested? Since they had met again, Su Che did not intend to beat around the bush. Xiao Yi. Now. Xiao of Xiao since. Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi said. Su, Xiao. Do you know what this means? Xiaoyi put down her glass and propped up her arm to look at Su Che. Then she teasingly hooked Su Che's chin and said, I want to fall in love too. Then shall we go to my house tonight? Su Che looked at her luggage in the corner and asked. Sure. Unexpectedly this time Xiaoyi nodded and said yes. She seemed to have completely changed. She had become proactive and confident. She seemed to have learned to enjoy life and everything in front of her. Her shop assistant was right. Su Che was indeed a rare man. Since she had already started over, why couldn't she muster up her courage and take the initiative to win this man back? After leaving for half a year, she wasn't sure if Su Che would wait for her. However, when she returned to the shop and heard the news about Su Che from the staff, she knew that Su Che was still willing to be with her and that he didn't have a new lover. After the two of them had a drink in the shop, Su Che brought Xiaoyi back to his villa. Xiaoyi had rejected the key back then. Now she felt that it was a pity. Can an assistant be so rich? I'll also make some investments. Su Che placed her luggage beside the sofa in the living room and asked her, do you want to sleep on the second or third floor? What's the difference? Xiaoyi turned around and asked. The second floor is my bedroom and the third floor is the guest room. Su Che leaned back on the sofa and answered honestly. After Xiaoyi heard this, she didn't answer immediately. Instead she asked Su Che, can I use the pool? Of course. After Xiaoyi heard this, she immediately took off her high heels and jumped into the pool. Then Su Che saw a mermaid swimming in the pool. A moment later Xiaoyi stood by the pool. Facing the sparkling water, she hooked her finger at Su Che. Su Che didn't even take off his shirt. He jumped into the water and swam to Xiaoyi's side. You've become bad. Xiaoyi took the opportunity to hook her arm around Su Che's waist, her heart pounding. I want to sleep in your room. I want to enjoy it. It's a relationship between adults. Su Che hugged her waist and pulled her out of the water. Have you been so bold to others abroad? Of course not, because there's no Su Che abroad and not everyone can be Su Che. After hearing this, Su Che didn't hesitate and directly brought her to the bedroom. Don't regret it. Xiaoyi hooked her arms around Su Che's neck and smiled charmingly. Of course she wouldn't hesitate. After going out for half a year, she had been deeply influenced by the thoughts of foreign women and had become confident and independent. As a woman, why couldn't she enjoy the love of a man? Especially when she was traversing the canyons of South Africa alone, skiing in Queenstown and crossing the Alps, she wanted to have a partner by her side and a relationship that wouldn't break up. Soon the two of them lay on the bed wet. It wasn't until Su Che pressed on top of her that Xiaoyi felt real. Be gentle. I'm afraid of pain. If you know you're afraid, why are you seducing me? Su Che pressed on top of her and asked in amusement. Can't I? Can't I be like the women abroad and enjoy love freely? I'm no longer the conservative me I used to be. After saying that, Xiaoyi took the initiative to slide down her shoulder strap and even winked at Su Che. Damn it. With Xiaoyi's action, Su Che realized that he had a reaction. It was a strong desire to possess her. Chapter 1000. Su Che's hand naturally caressed the woman's delicate skin. His hot and wet kiss also became intense and crazy with his desire. The two of them quickly took off their drenched clothes. However, unlike the shyness of other women, Xiaoyi boldly admired the man's strong body. There was a hint of provocation in her eyes. This naturally aroused the man's desire to conquer her. Therefore, Su Che did not hesitate. He also boldly took possession of this woman and completely made her his. The bedroom was filled with an ambiguous atmosphere. The two of them had a hearty time and then turned to the bathroom. This was destined to be a sleepless night. Xiaoyi was extremely exhausted and felt pain all over her body. However, what Su Che gave her was an extremely extreme experience. Perhaps this was the strength of martial artists. The next morning Su Che woke up and subconsciously reached out to hug Xiaoyi. However, he was met with serious resistance from the woman. Don't. I feel bad. I just want to hug you and take a hot bath, Su Che quickly explained. Have a good rest at home today. I think you can't get out of bed. Only then did Xiaoyi know what it meant to blush. No, I'm going to the shop. I'm going to upgrade the dessert shop. I'm no longer selling childish cakes for children. Xiaoyi hooked her arms around Su Che's neck and said, after the bath, you don't have to worry about me. Go to work. I have my own things to do. Che almost forgot that she was now independent and a woman of the new era. After sleeping with someone, you're going back on your word? When did I? Yi blinked. Isn't it good to let us maintain our independence? I only feel you're cunning. After saying that, Che leaned in again. You don't need to move. I'll move. What a joke. He had been single for 32 years. Now that he had finally tasted flesh, how could Che let it go so easily? This time it was already 9 o'clock in the morning. According to the time, Che should have reported to Zhongting long ago. However, because of Yi for the first time in his life, he knew what it meant to be late. Yi was completely taken advantage of, so she didn't care anymore. She directly clamped her legs around Che's waist. Don't even think about going to work today. Is that so? Che asked hoarsely. He really didn't plan on going to work today. Then don't even think about getting out of bed for the next 3 days. Did it have to be so intense? Yi didn't have time to think. In short, according to the people at the dessert shop, they really didn't see Yi again in the next 3 days. It was rare for Che to take a 3-day vacation. For the past 3 days, the two of them had been staying in Che's house. Yi was wearing Che's shirt, her long legs bare as she busied herself in the kitchen. What she didn't realize was that this place could turn into a battlefield at any time. In the past 3 days, where else had they not been intimate? 3 days later, Yi finally walked out of the door. She drove Che's flashy car to the dessert shop in a high-profile manner. The employees in the shop were extremely curious, so they took the opportunity to ask Yi, "Store manager, where have you been for the past 3 days? Besides, why did he drive Special Assistant Su's car here?" "I'm going to deal with the important matters of my life." Yi hummed a song as she waved at them. From the looks of it, she was in a good mood. After the employees came over, she said, "I'm going to upgrade the shop soon. Also, I've bought the few shops next to it. When the time comes, the area will expand by more than 5 times. All of you are old employees of the shop. If you want to stay, of course I welcome you. If you feel that the 3-month renovation period is too long and you can't wait, I can arrange other jobs for you." After they heard this, they couldn't help but look at each other. After going out for half a year, the store manager was indeed different when she came back. In the past, when she sold desserts, her business was so good that she had never thought of expanding the shop. After going out for half a year and coming back, she had indeed thought things through and knew that making money was very important. Therefore, the few of them immediately showed their loyalty. "We're willing to stay and wait for the shop to be upgraded." "Oh, this is too unfair to you. How about this? You can take a vacation with a basic salary. When you're free, you can also participate in the shop's promotional activities. How about that?" The employees immediately applauded her. There weren't many bosses like her nowadays. "I'll keep the dessert part. On this basis, the renovation will be upgraded and there will be a high-end bar and a pet water bar next to it. But store manager, this will cost a lot of money, right? I've already sold the apartment and car at a discount. It's completely enough. You don't have to worry." Yi quickly comforted them. "Store manager, you're so cool now. You're so cool." Yi, who had returned from abroad, was not only confident, but also courageous. This was a completely different person from the Yi of the past. However, just as the few of them were praising Yi's progress, her useless brother came looking for her. The employees quickly signaled to Yi that the troublemaker had come looking for trouble. In the past, Yi had suffered a lot for this scumbag brother. Yi understood their hints. She crossed her arms and turned around. Her expression was no longer as cowardly as before. "You don't have money to spend again?" Xiao Tong looked at his sister who had turned around. He was so surprised that his eyeballs almost fell out. "You're really Yi? You don't know me anymore." Yi pulled out a chair with a mocking expression. "I've only been back for a few days and you're already looking for me? Yi, I'm your brother after all. For the sake of our blood relationship, help me one more time." Yi glanced at him, then took out her phone and called the police in front of Xiao Tong. "Hello, are you the police? I'm the owner of the dessert shop, Yi. Someone here is causing trouble." Xiao Tong didn't expect Yi to become so domineering. He quickly said, "You can't go that far, right? I'm just looking for my sister to reminisce about the past. But I don't want to reminisce about the past with you. I've been squeezed a lot by you in the past. You should be satisfied." I won't allow you to gamble without a bottom line. When the employees saw this, they secretly gave Xiao Yi a thumbs up. How cool, store manager. Aren't you leaving yet? Don't blame me for not warning you. Su Che has already informed the police here. Xiao Tong had no choice but to retreat from the dessert shop. But in fact, Xiao Yi didn't even make the call. Store manager, I heard you mention special assistant Su. Yes, I moved out my boyfriend. What's the problem? Xiao Yi asked the little cutie in the shop. Let's close early today. We have to start preparing for the renovation tomorrow. You guys can take the pastries back tonight and leave one for me. Boyfriend. So for those 3 days the store manager had been with special assistant Su? He couldn't be more handsome. Chapter 1001. Late that night, Su Che rode his motorcycle to the dessert shop to pick Xiao Yi up from work. The employees in the shop saw Su Che wearing a jacket and gloves. You look so cool. Store manager, you're so happy. Xiao Yi looked up and saw Su Che pushing the door open. Her heart warmed and her face was filled with satisfaction. Then she handed the last piece of cake to Su Che. Didn't you say that your nephew lives nearby? This is a gift from Auntie. You're willing to go? Su Che was stunned for a few seconds as he looked at the exquisite cake box and asked. In fact, he was a little surprised. Because the two of them had just confirmed their relationship, very few girls were willing to have contact with the man's family in such a short period of time. Why not? I'm also looking forward to seeing little Luden. Xiao Yi supported herself on the cashier counter and smiled. Do you need to report in advance? I'll just make a call. Su Che took out his phone and answered. Oh my, you're going to meet the parents. The employees in the shop jeered. How lucky. Xiao Yi glared at them and threw the key to the employees. You guys close the shop. Then she took the cake box and walked to Su Che's side. As Su Che made the call, he reached out and put his arm around Xiao Yi's waist. Leave the car here. Just walk. Your family must be very surprised. Xiao Yi could imagine the expressions of Su Che's family when they heard the news. They'll like you, especially little Luden. Su Che held Xiao Yi's hand and led her into his brother's residential area. In fact, when Su Che's brother received the call, he thought Su Che was joking. Why did he suddenly fall in love and bring her home? Did he understand the family situation clearly? Was she a good girl? His brother was very worried and little Luden was also unhappy. His uncle had clearly said that he wanted to pursue the owner of the dessert shop at the door, but now he actually liked someone else. So the little guy sat on the sofa in the living room and sulked. Soon Su Che appeared at his brother's door with Xiao Yi. Brother Su opened the door and saw the girl. Other than feeling that she was beautiful, he also felt that she was very familiar. This is my brother. Brother, this is Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi. Brother Su tried very hard to search for information about this girl in his mind, because he always felt as if he had seen her somewhere, but he could not remember. Come in first. Your call came suddenly. Your sister-in-law hasn't come back from a business trip. Son, come and get her. Little Luden pouted and sat on the sofa, looking as if he didn't want to talk to anyone. Yang, Uncle, you didn't keep your word. You clearly said that you would chase after the dessert lady. The primary school student expressed great resistance and protest. I don't like you and I don't like her. You are rude. Apologize to Uncle. Elder brother Su quickly scolded his son. Su Che and Xiao Yi looked at each other and smiled. Then take a look. What did Auntie bring you? The primary school student recognized the packaging. It was the cake from the dessert shop. Humph, don't try to bribe me even if you have a cake. The primary school student was very loyal. Su Che was helpless. He looked at Xiao Yi, but her smile did not diminish. Little Luden, I didn't expect you to have such a bad temper. Let me tell you, this is the last cake in our shop. You won't be able to eat it for the next few months. As soon as Xiao Yi finished speaking, the primary school student turned around and looked at Xiao Yi in disbelief. You are that fat lady boss? You lost weight? You're rude. Call me Auntie. Su Che handed the cake to him and knocked him on the head. Don't hit me like that. The teacher said that I'll become stupid. The primary school student expressed his dissatisfaction. I didn't expect you to be so fast. You're worth encouraging. Auntie, come in quickly. You've become so beautiful. Elder brother Su looked at the primary school student whose emotions changed like a tornado, and his expression looked very helpless. Of course, he did not expect Su Che to really listen to the primary school student's words and pursue the lady boss. After a very pleasant dinner, Xiao Yi played games on the balcony with the primary school student. Elder brother Su tugged at Su Che and asked, "I heard that the lady boss was so desperate for a man. What's going on?" This was Xiao Yi's past and Su Che could not erase it. He said to his brother, "Brother, Xiao Yi did have a relationship in the past. It wasn't that pleasant, but I know the whole process very well. You have to trust my judgment. I'm afraid that you'll lose your head in love. Don't worry. The person your son likes won't be too bad." Elder brother Su tilted his head and saw that Xiao Yi and his son were having such a good time. He was slightly relieved. If that's the case, then take advantage of it. As an elder brother, I only hope to see you happy. Don't worry. Su Che looked at Xiao Yi and his gaze became extremely gentle. This was the first time elder brother Su had seen Su Che like this, and he understood that he had fallen in love. It's very late. It's about time you guys go back. The little guy still needs to sleep and go to school. Just come often in the future. Su Che nodded, but little Luden was reluctant to leave. He pouted. I won't be able to eat delicious cake in the future. If you want to eat it, call your uncle. I'll prepare it for you in advance. You can choose the taste. How about it? Yay. The little guy jumped up. Xiao Yi smiled and rubbed his head. Then she and Su Che left her brother's house hand in hand. Because they were too full, the two of them took a walk to digest their food. Seeing that Su Che was silent, Xiao Yi leaned on his arm and asked, "Does your brother not like me?" There were so many bad rumors about me near the neighborhood. I was afraid that he would misunderstand me. You came just like that. I thought you didn't mind how my brother thought of you, Su Che replied with a smile. How could I not care? We'll have to interact for a long time in the future. My brother is a very open-minded person. Even if he had doubts about you before, he made it clear to me just now. In addition, little Luden likes you so much, so you don't have to worry at all. Actually, I'm the one who should be afraid. I'm afraid that you don't like my family. After Xiao Yi heard this, she smiled slightly. You know that I don't have a complete family and I don't have any relatives worth getting along with. So, after going abroad for half a year, when I saw the way foreign women got along with their families, I was very envious, and I longed for a family from the bottom of my heart. Besides, I also like little Luden very much. After hearing Xiao Yi's words, Su Che couldn't help but reach out and hug her. From now on, this will also be your home. In a few days, I'll bring you to see my friend. She smiled and leaned against Su Che's chest and nodded. I'm also looking forward to seeing forensic Dr. Mu's autopsy for the second time. Chapter 1002. Su Che and Xiao Yi's lives were extremely simple. During the day, Su Che went to work while Xiao Yi worked in her new shop. At night, the two of them cooked and rested at home, loving each other on the big bed. Sometimes Xiao Yi would also go to the movies. Su Che would buy the movie tickets in advance. The two of them were like ordinary couples, holding popcorn and Coke as they shuttled through the crowd. Soon, Su Che made an appointment for Mu Chichi's anatomy class. After Mu Chichi heard this, she was really shocked. Half a year ago, Su Che was already stupid. How could he still be so stupid half a year later? Why did he like to bring girls to watch her dissection so much? Why did he not go to so many dating places? What was so good about dissection? Mu Chichi seriously suspected that there was something wrong with Su Che's brain, but Su Che smiled and did not say anything. Was this his new trick to pick up girls? No matter what, Mu Chichi still agreed to Su Che's unusual request. So this time she arranged a particularly disgusting view of the giant. She did not believe that any girl would dare to come next time. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Su Che rode his motorcycle and brought Xiao Yi to the Jianchuan branch office. When the people at the branch office saw that Su Che had brought another girl over after half a year, and it was in the forensics laboratory, they immediately felt that it was unbelievable. Compared to the girl last time, this time it was a beauty. Xiao Yi held back her laughter and followed behind Su Che. When the two of them entered the forensics laboratory, they were holding hands. Mu Chichi saw them at a glance and was a little shocked. It seemed that Su Che was serious this time. Su Che, why can't you get past my dissection table? Mu Chichi blocked the terrifying corpse and sat on a chair as she asked Su Che. Su Che smiled slightly, but Xiao Yi laughed out loud. Forensic Dr. Mu, long time no see. You. Hearing this familiar voice, Mu Qiqi finally understood what was going on. You're the girl who came half a year ago, right? It's me, Xiaoyi. Mu Qiqi came to a sudden realization and glared at Su Che. Look at you. It's fine if it's the first time you brought me here. I understand your good intentions, but this is the second time. You're already my girlfriend and you don't even know to change places. It's not his fault. I wanted to come and observe. Xiaoyi quickly spoke up for Su Che. Half a year ago, watching your dissection made me understand the meaning of life. Half a year later, I want to come back and see if my state of mind will change even more. After Mu Qiqi heard this, she gave Xiaoyi a thumbs up. You're a real man, but the one I prepared today is a little, heavy. Maybe after you see it, you won't be able to take it. You'll vomit. It's nothing more than a giant view. I've seen it before. Xiaoyi said calmly, I've been a volunteer in a Middle Eastern country and seen such a scene. I'm not afraid. Then why did you come to see this? You've seen it and felt it. It's definitely more intense than mine. I believe you've already figured out the meaning of life. There's no need for you to suffer again. After Xiaoyi finished laughing, she glanced at Su Che and replied, Actually, we're here to pick you up from work. I want to treat you to a meal. You should have said so earlier. Mu Qiqi looked relaxed and stood up from the chair. I'm going to change now. Wait outside. Mu Qiqi had always been a Buddhist when it came to making friends. If their three views were the same, they could get along. If their three views were not the same, there was no need to force it. Now that she saw Su Che's girlfriend, she suddenly had a premonition that perhaps their sister group was going to grow stronger again. No wonder Su Che's dressing had become more and more exquisite these few days. It turned out that he was no longer single. In order to get everyone to see Su Che's girlfriend, Mu Qiqi took advantage of the time she was changing to send a message to her sister group. Feng Xianxian and Lu Qianxian immediately responded. Even Song Qiaozhi asked for the address of the meal. Su Che had been a bachelor for 10,000 years. They wanted to see what kind of fairy he had found. Because the women were curious, the men had to accompany them. Tang Yan, Lin Mu, and Xing Kai were all ordered to get off work early by their wives. However, after doing this, Mu Qiqi suddenly felt a little guilty. What if the other party was a stranger? She had called so many people at once. She didn't know if she would scare them. But who asked Su Che not to be honest? Half an hour later, Mu Qiqi and the other two were having dinner in a 5-star hotel owned by Zhongting. Soon Xiao picked up his daughter from kindergarten and met up at the hotel. This was the first time Xiaoyi had seen Xiao in person. He was a super rich man who could rival a country. He was someone who could turn the tides in Jianchuan. Tang Yan and Feng Xianshan, as well as Lu Qianxian and Lin Mu Yun, appeared immediately after them. Xiaoyi was stunned when she saw them. Mu Qiqi smiled. After dinner, let's go to the Sky Garden on the 5th floor for a drink. Also, you don't have to be nervous at all. It would be strange if she wasn't nervous. The people who appeared were all the top figures in Jianchuan. Su Che quickly held her palm and whispered in her ear, Relax. I didn't expect so many people to come. Just pretend that you know them. They're all easy to get along with. Seeing the two of them whispering into each other's ears, Mu Qiqi quickly pulled Xiaoyi into the group of women. From now on you belong to us. Only when we go home can you belong to Su Che. Mu Qiqi brought Xiaoyi, who was full, to the garden on the 5th floor with Feng Xianshan and the others. It could be seen that they often gathered here, so they were familiar with the place. Xiaoyi was sandwiched between them and soon reached the heart of the garden. Then she was pushed onto the sofa by Mu Qiqi. Hurry up and share with us your relationship with Su Che. I'm dying of curiosity. Xiaoyi looked at the 3 different types of women surrounding her and realized that they were going to gossip. How did you meet? Why did you suddenly lose so much weight? What have you been doing for the past 6 months? Xiaoyi scratched her head. She really couldn't stand the enthusiasm of these women, so she hurriedly said, Sit down first and listen to me in detail. You have to understand our feelings. Su Che is already 32 years old. We hate marrying for him. Mu Qiqi sat opposite Xiaoyi and crossed her arms. On the other side there were also the helpless men who came one after another. Tang Yan was still in the middle of a meeting when he was called out. Lin Mu, and had just returned from a business trip and hadn't even had time to change his clothes. Xing Kai was even worse off. He was halfway through his discussion with the foreign guests when he was scared by Song Qiaozhi's call. He thought that something had happened to her. Only Xianxia was the calmest because he was already used to it. The three of them sat beside Su Che. Lin Mu, and gestured with his chin to Xiao Yi and asked Su Che, "Girlfriend?" "Yes." Su Che nodded. "I can finally understand why these women are crazy." Lin Mu, and had a look of understanding. These women can talk about everything from astronomy to geography, and then from under the bed to in bed. They can even tell you their abilities in that area. Chapter 1003. Among them, Tang Yan and Xianxia were both fathers, so they naturally had to be different from the other two. They spent more time on their families. Therefore, Xianxia and Tang Yan did not know that these women could chat so freely. They did not know how they would describe their men's abilities in that aspect. Lin Muan's guess was right. When women gathered together, the gossip would never leave the man. For example, what Mu Qiqi was most concerned about was where Su Che had gone during his 3-day leave. Hearing this, Xiao Yi's face immediately turned red. In those 3 days, she and Su Che had been in love without restraint. Just thinking about it made people feel shy. Seeing Xiao Yi's reaction, how could the married women who had children not understand what was going on? "I didn't expect Su Che to be so wild. He came for 3 days. Mu Qiqi could not help but click her tongue. "Keep your voices down. It's so embarrassing if they hear us." Xiao Yi quickly covered her face. Mu Qiqi looked at Xiao Yi and said, "Do you think they don't know what we're talking about? If it weren't for Master Xiao and Tang Yan, they wouldn't have been able to judge us. I'm really envious of you guys for dating. You're not an old couple like us. We still have children at home." "I'm not the first," Mu Qiqi said, putting on an act. Lu Qianxian immediately glared at Mu Qiqi. "Come on, enough is enough. Who doesn't know that Master Xiao is famous for doting on his wife? You're still pretending to be obedient after getting what you want. There's no more passion. You won't understand even if I tell you. There's no more passion?" Xing Xiao sat at the side and used his clairaudient to hear a woman's complaint. "Very good." Just like that, Xiao Yi was pulled into Mu Qiqi's group of sisters. From time to time they could go shopping and drink tea together. It sounded very good. Moreover, Xiao Yi realized that Mu Qiqi, who was not wearing a white coat, had lost her seriousness. She had become straightforward and easy to get along with. They were all very good people. Soon, the women exchanged secrets on a large scale with flushed faces. Then they were taken home by their respective men. The one who suffered the most was Mu Qiqi. When they stepped out of the hotel, Xing Xiao behaved as usual. After Mu Qiqi got into the car, he brought her to the revolving restaurant. After entering the room, he pressed her down on the dining table. When Mu Qiqi saw the man taking off his clothes, she quickly said, "What are you doing? Our daughter is still waiting for us at home. You're the one who said that there's no more passion. Today I'll teach you what passion is." With that, Xing Xiao pressed himself between Mu Qiqi's legs, not allowing her to resist at all. His sharp eyes stared at Mu Qiqi as if she was a prey on a platter. Mu Qiqi looked at the beautiful Ferris wheel outside the window and suddenly felt a little hopeless. When did this man's ears become so sharp? At first she thought that he would be angry and teach her a lesson at most. But she did not expect that she would be put on the table by a certain man that night, in all kinds of positions from all kinds of angles. It was so embarrassing. The scariest thing was that he didn't stop that night. Mu Qiqi was tormented until dawn when she finally blacked out. She swore that she would never say such things behind this man's back again. The other couples were also affectionate when they went home, but they were not as intense as Master Xiao, especially Xiao Yi and Su Che. They were affectionate 2 or 3 times before they turned off the lights and went to sleep. Soon, 3 months had passed and the previously childish dessert shop had transformed into a very tasteful water bar at the moment. The area was more than 3 times larger and it was rich and varied. In order not to disappoint the children nearby, the dessert section was still maintained. Moreover, it was a pastry chef personally trained by Xiao Yi. The standard was maintained before she left and the price did not change. However, Xiao Yi spent more effort on the water bar and bar. She opened the door in another direction, separating it from the dessert shop. After that, Xiao Yi also found many so-called public accounts to promote her, as well as some food experts to come over to scout. Soon her shop became an online shop that dominated the area. At this time, Kings of Glory's KPL was in the middle of a competition. There were still many customers in the shop who loved to play. Some customers even watched the competition in her shop. However, when she saw that familiar name, her heart no longer wavered. It was as if she was facing a stranger. At the end of the year, Xiao Yi earned enough money, so she dragged Su Che to a luxury car shop to buy herself a Porsche. In fact, at this time Su Che had the intention to propose. Because Xiao Yi had said that she wanted a home, an equal, free, healthy and warm home. Su Che felt that this was the right time. He had even bought a diamond proposal ring. However, before he could give it away, Xiao Yi received a call from the Volunteer Association, asking her to go abroad to volunteer again. Xiao Yi agreed immediately. She didn't even discuss it with Su Che. And she had been gone for 3 months. Su Che was secretly a little disappointed. In fact, Xiao Yi discovered the ring Su Che had hidden in the bedside table. She understood what Su Che meant, but she wanted to be a volunteer because that was where her new life would begin. Or perhaps she just wanted to hide the fear in her heart. Su Che, can you wait for me for another 3 months? When I come back from abroad, I'll get married to you. Xiao Yi didn't notice that when she said the word marriage, she might not even be able to convince herself. Su Che shook his head and rejected Xiao Yi's suggestion. The reason why you agreed to volunteer abroad is because you don't want to marry me. So, even if you go out for 3 months, you're still afraid of getting married. Can you tell me why? Su Che didn't get angry, but he was rarely serious. When Xiao Yi saw this, she could only ask truthfully, Have you ever found out about my parents? Su Che shook his head. No, because you didn't mention it and I don't want to open up your scars. My father and mother loved each other very much before they got married, but not long after they got married my father started to abuse my mother. My mother endured it for 20 years and finally she couldn't help but end my father's life. She's still in prison. Xiao Yi shrugged helplessly. I grew up in an extremely unsound family environment, and I met such a brother and a scumbag, so I'm very afraid of marriage. I want to have a family with you, but can we not register it? I know this idea is ridiculous, but there's no need to say anything. I understand. Su Che reached out and hugged her. I can wait for you to open up the knot in your heart, but you have to work hard with me. Marriage isn't what you think it is and I won't allow you to escape. Don't be a volunteer, okay? After Xiao Yi heard this, she nodded. I'm sorry. I seem to have a lot of bad habits. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Su Che didn't mind. He only felt love for her. If you encounter something like this in the future, just tell me directly. Don't run away. Is our relationship that weak? After Xiao Yi heard this, she felt very guilty and quickly gave him a soft kiss. I was wrong. Don't be angry. Chapter 1004. In the following days, the relationship between the two of them was very stable. Xiao Yi was busy opening the next chain store, while Su Che was still busy by Xing Zhao's side. The two of them never forced each other to contact each other. If they missed each other, they would take the initiative to call each other and say, I miss you. At night, the two of them cooked together. Occasionally, when they were in the mood, they would be lovey-dovey in the kitchen. Xiao Yi liked the space and freedom that Su Che gave her because it represented Su Che's absolute trust. From time to time, Xiao Yi would bring the cake to see little Luden. Su Che's big brother would also ask the two of them when they planned to settle down. Xiao Yi didn't want brother Su to misunderstand Su Che, so she took the initiative to explain that it was her problem. She hoped that brother Su could give her some time to have the courage to believe in marriage. Since the girl was so honest, brother Su couldn't say much. He just advised her not to think too long because some things had to be experienced to know. Xiao Yi knew it herself, but she just couldn't muster up the courage, even though there were many times when she had the urge to register with Su Che immediately. It was another winter, and the little princess of the Xing family was about to turn 4. Mu Qiqi had called long ago to urge Xiao Yi. The party was about to start, so why wasn't she here yet? During this period of time, Xiao Yi had opened many branches in Jianchuan. She was already a wealthy woman, but because of this she became much busier. Sometimes it was 1 or 2 in the morning when she got home. Xiao Yi naturally wouldn't miss the little princess's birthday. After apologizing to Mu Qiqi over the phone, she immediately packed her things and left. But just as she put on her coat and went out with her keys, she suddenly saw a familiar figure. Xiao Yi, save me. The person knelt in front of Xiao Yi with a thud. Xiaoyi was a little shocked because she had never thought that she would actually see this person. Mo and Nan. I'm in a lot of debt now and I have nowhere else to go. Xiaoyi put on her clothes and coldly called for the security guard. Do as you see fit. I still have something to do so I'll be leaving first. Seeing this scumbag again, Xiaoyi had almost no emotions. Perhaps Suche had long since healed the pain in her heart. With that, Xiaoyi took her bag and was about to leave. However, Mo and Nan took out a dagger from his pocket and pointed it at his neck, threatening Xiaoyi. If you don't help me today, I'll die in your shop. Xiaoyi looked at Mo and Nan's childish actions and sneered. She shook her head. Forget it. Consider it a punishment for being blind back then. With that, she took out her phone and dialed the number for the police. Mo and Nan was shocked when he saw this because he did not expect Xiaoyi to be so cold-hearted now. You can die here. I'll call the police for you. The police will come and collect your body. With that, Xiaoyi put away her phone and turned around. At this moment, Suche pushed open the door and entered. At this critical moment, Suche suddenly reached out to hug Xiaoyi tightly and quickly turned around. The tip of Mo and Nan's knife pierced through Suche's jacket, and dark red blood immediately flowed out. After Suche helped Xiaoyi steady herself, he comforted her. It's fine. It's just a superficial wound. When the security guard saw this, he quickly stepped forward and stopped Mo and Nan. I called you just now but you didn't answer. I wanted to tell you about this. This scumbag slept with the club boss's woman and was trapped in bed. Now not only has he been kicked out of the club, but he also owes tens of millions of yuan. After hearing Suche's explanation, Xiaoyi immediately said anxiously, What does this have to do with me? I'm worried about you. Suche glanced at his wound and touched Xiaoyi's hair. It's really just a small injury. I'll send you to the banyan courtyard first. Leave this to me. Xiaoyi took a deep breath and nodded. I agree to your arrangement, but you have to bandage me first and let me see your wound. The waiter in the shop quickly went to get the first aid kit. Suche couldn't argue with Xiaoyi, so he took off his jacket and let her see the wound. Unexpectedly, in just a few minutes, blood had already dyed his shirt red. And you said it's a small injury? It's almost to the bone. Xiaoyi immediately burst into tears. You're my girlfriend. If I don't protect you, who will? Suche sat on the chair and watched Xiaoyi press his wound. He didn't even frown. At this moment, Xiaoyi was silent. After the bandaging was done, she hugged Suche tightly. Because she suddenly understood a truth. Whether a marriage was happy or not, the key was who you married. Suche and that scumbag were worlds apart, so she didn't know what she was hesitating about. I'll drive to the banyan courtyard myself. Your arm needs to rest for the time being. Then be careful on the way. After I'm done here, I'll come over immediately. Suche didn't force himself because he knew that Xiaoyi would be worried. Xiaoyi nodded and helped Suche put on his clothes. Then she picked up her bag again and left the shop. When she walked out of the shop, she deliberately turned around to look at Mo and Nan, who was pressed to the ground. If he dared to hurt Suche, she would find the best lawyer and make Mo and Nan regret it for the rest of his life. Afraid that Suche would cause a commotion when he arrived at the banquet, Xiaoyi immediately drove home to get clean clothes for Suche. However, after entering the door, she felt her stomach churn. Just now, when she saw the blood, she felt faintly uncomfortable. Now she was lying on the bathroom floor and vomiting. It had been like this for the past few days. After Xiaoyi finished vomiting, she looked up at herself in the mirror. A thought suddenly flashed through her mind. Maybe she had a child? Thinking of this possibility, Xiaoyi rushed out of the door and went straight to the nearby pharmacy to buy a pregnancy test. After returning home, she immediately opened the packaging and placed all the products she had bought from the pharmacy on the sink. There were 10 of them. A minute later, the pregnancy test gave her the answer. They were all 2 bright horizontal lines. Was she pregnant? At this moment, Xiaoyi's emotions were very complicated. Because she was obviously not prepared to welcome a new life, she couldn't even muster the courage to get married. But now she was actually pregnant? Did she hate this feeling? Actually, she didn't, so Xiaoyi subconsciously stroked her flat lower abdomen. It was in this place that she and Suche had a child. It was with Suche. Not long after, Suche called to ask where Xiaoyi had gone. Xiaoyi immediately put away all the pregnancy tests and answered Suche that she would go home and get clean clothes for him. She couldn't tell Su Che immediately because she knew that being pregnant meant getting married. But she wasn't ready yet. She needed to think about it carefully and let herself digest the news first. Chapter 1005. For the next few days Xiao Yi didn't know how to speak to Su Che. Every time the words were on the tip of her tongue she really wanted to say them, but she felt that it wasn't the best time. During the period when Su Che's arm was injured he couldn't exert any strength at all in the first few days. Xiao Yi's heart ached when she saw this. At the same time she felt that she was too selfish. In fact, Su Che could feel that Xiao Yi wanted to say something these few days, but she hesitated. He was very stubborn and didn't ask because he really wanted to hear Xiao Yi take the initiative to speak. However, even when his injury was healed, Xiao Yi still couldn't tell him the secret in her heart. Although he felt that he had used enough patience with Xiao Yi, sometimes he would still be hurt by her unconscious actions. This state lasted for a week. A week later, Tang Yan personally called Xianxia to borrow Su Che. There was a joint operation that needed Su Che's agile skills. For some reason when he received this mission, Su Che heaved a sigh of relief. The unwillingness to face Xiao Yi every day was almost suffocating him. That night Su Che went home to pack his luggage. When Xiao Yi saw this she panicked. "You're leaving." When Su Che saw Xiao Yi's nervous expression, the depression in his heart was relieved. "I have a mission. I have to go on a business trip for a few days." "How many days? Is it dangerous? When will you be back? You didn't even discuss it with me." Hearing her question, Su Che closed his suitcase and looked at Xiao Yi seriously. "It'll take about 4 days. It's a high-risk operation. If nothing unexpected happens I should be back on Friday." Xiao Yi was even more flustered when she got the answer. "Do you have to go?" Su Che put down his suitcase and held Xiao Yi's hand. His tone was a little helpless. "I know you have something you want to say to me but you can't open your mouth. Sometimes I wonder if I'm the closest person to you. Why can't you believe me wholeheartedly until now and you're not willing to give your heart to me? I thought I wouldn't mind. I could continue to wait but sometimes I realize I'm also a human, an ordinary man. When I received this mission I don't know why, but I actually felt a little lucky because I couldn't continue to deceive myself. Xiao Yi, I'm not a blockhead. I can feel that my place in your heart isn't that important. I'll be gone for 4 days. You should think about it carefully. If you're sure that you can't give me your heart I think we can choose another relationship. There's no need to force each other." After hearing Su Che's words Xiao Yi was stunned. She even felt a little overwhelmed. She thought she had hidden it well but in fact, that was not the case at all. "Su Che, it's not like that. Can you not leave?" Su Che shook his head. "You can't see yourself clearly when I'm by your side. Besides, a life is at stake. Everyone is waiting for me. Take good care of yourself in the next few days. I believe you can do it." After that Su Che squatted down and picked up the suitcase. Then without waiting for Xiao Yi to continue he quickly walked out of his house. He didn't want to say something that would hurt their relationship, but if he didn't say it now his chest would explode. Therefore they could take advantage of these 4 days to calm down. Xiao Yi watched helplessly as Su Che left. Tears immediately flowed out of her eyes. She didn't know why she still lacked courage even now. She was clearly no longer the same person she used to be. The day after Su Che left, Xiao Yi called Mu Qiqi. Now only Mu Qiqi could untie the knot in her heart. The two of them agreed to meet at the branch office. Mu Qiqi knew that Xiao Yi hadn't slept all night. "Did something happen with Su Che?" "Su Che said that I don't love him enough and asked me to calm down for a few days," Xiao Yi replied sickly. "Actually, we've already discussed this matter in private. The conclusion is that you really don't love Su Che enough. First of all, you don't believe in him so you're afraid of marriage. Second, you don't care about him enough. You're always immersed in whether others hurt you or not. So the conclusion is that you love yourself the most." At this moment, as a member of Su Che's family, Mu Qiqi was very straightforward. Love is a very special thing. You can tell with a glance whether the other party loves you or not. I don't know how long Su Che has endured it. Anyway, I rarely feel love for Su Che from you. Xiao Yi immediately fell into an even deeper panic. "Qiqi, I've been hurt for many years. I really don't know how to love and I don't know how to trust someone. But I know fear. When Su Che said that he was leaving I was very afraid. I was afraid that he wouldn't come back. I was afraid that he would really give up on our relationship. You're right. I'm extremely selfish. I really deserve to die. Just look at your heart clearly. Isn't that fine? I believe that's why Suche left. Mu Qiqi patted her shoulder to show encouragement. Think about it yourself. How far are you willing to go for Suche? You have to know that the injury on his arm hasn't fully healed yet. Mu Qiqi deliberately scared Xiao Yi. After Xiao Yi heard this, her face turned pale. After returning home, Xiao Yi sat on the steps all day and looked around. Sometimes she cried bitterly, especially when she thought about how Suche had been injured because of her and had even gone out to carry out a high-risk mission. Her heart ached like needles. Just like that, 3 days passed. Suche finally appeared at the door of his house with his luggage. Xiao Yi sat on the steps and immediately pounced on him when she saw him. In fact, when he was carrying out the mission, Suche had already thought it through. Anyway, he had already waited for so long. So what if he continued to wait? But Xiao Yi's actions made him ecstatic. You're finally back, Sob. I'm fine. Suche quickly held her up. How many days have you not rested well? Why are you in such a sorry state? After you left, I regretted not telling you earlier. I was afraid that after you came back, you'd think it through and think that I was too selfish and want to break up with me. I thought about what to do every day and couldn't sleep at all. Xiao Yi cried out. After hearing Xiao Yi's aggrieved tone, Suche was satisfied. This person actually had love in her heart, but she didn't know the depth of it. It's not good for the neighbors to see it at the gate. I'm also very tired. Can we go home first? Suche was a little helpless. Wait for me to finish my last sentence. Xiao Yi raised her tearful eyes and looked at Suche seriously. You're going to be a father. Also, I won't hide anything from you anymore. Suche hugged Xiao Yi and held her face in disbelief. Is what you said true? Chapter 1006. Of course it's true. I was hesitant for the past few days because I didn't know how to tell you. I was afraid that you would immediately take me to register for marriage. I wasn't ready yet, but I thought about it a lot these past few days. I think I was too selfish. After hearing Xiao Yi's words, Suche carried her horizontally and quickly walked home. Since you know you're pregnant, why don't you take good care of yourself? I've been scared for a few days. Xiao Yi hugged Suche's neck, her tone also very aggrieved. Suche sighed, suddenly regretting his decision to go out and calm down. Something really happened to Xiao Yi and the child because of this. He would never forgive himself for the rest of his life. I actually didn't want to break up with you. It's my fault for saying those words out of anger. Suche gently placed Xiao Yi on the sofa and squatted in front of her. In the future, no matter how angry I am, I will never say such outrageous words to you. No, it's not like that. It's my fault. It's my fault for not caring about you enough. Xiao Yi said guiltily, you're right, and so is Qiqi. If you really love someone, you can even give him your life. Why would you be afraid of marrying him? When you were by my side, I didn't know how to cherish you. But after you left, I realized how scared I was. Since we're all wrong, let's turn the page, okay? Now that I'm back, I'll never leave you again. I won't turn the page. I want to keep this fear in my heart, because only then can I remember the horror of losing you, and only then can I cherish the time I spent with you, Xiao Yi answered seriously. Suche didn't know what to do with her, so he turned around and went out to get his luggage. During the entire process, Xiao Yi's gaze was on Suche as if he was going to leave at any moment. Have you been to the hospital since you found out you were pregnant? Suche returned to her side after putting away his luggage. Xiao Yi shook her head. After you left, I didn't go anywhere other than Qiqi's place. Suche sighed slightly. Then he took out his phone and asked for Song Qiaoji's number. Xiao Yi had been in such a sorry state for the past few days. He didn't know if her depressed mood would affect her body. Go up and change. I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup. But, we haven't registered yet. Will we be laughed at? Xiao Yi covered her face and asked. Do you need to show your marriage certificate to the hospital? Suche urged her. Go. In fact, Song Qiaoji, who received Suche's call, was also quite shocked. When she heard that there was a problem with his relationship with Xiao Yi, Song Qiaoji thought that the two of them might end up going their separate ways. She didn't expect Suche to suddenly call her to ask for her number. She was an obstetrician. The only explanation was that Xiao Yi was pregnant. An hour later, the two of them appeared at Jianchuan Hospital hand in hand. Seeing their loving expressions, Song Qiaoji understood that Xiao Yi was definitely pregnant. Then Song Qiaoji performed a full-body checkup on Xiao Yi. According to the report, everything is normal at the moment. The fetus is 53 days old and it's still considered healthy. However, because it was an accident, all the nutrients that should be replenished have to be replenished. Xiao Yi will have to do more screening in the future. After hearing Song Qiaoji's words, Su Che was finally relieved. Then do I need to have any ideas? You don't smoke or drink. Live a healthy daily life and work and rest regularly. You just need to maintain this state. As for the rest, it's just that Xiao Yi is working hard. As a father-to-be, you have to be more considerate, Song Qiaoji instructed. When you're free, read more books about this. There's a lot of them online. All right. Su Che scratched his nose excitedly. Oh right, there's one more thing. We can't delay it anymore. Hurry up and register our marriage, Song Qiaoji reminded the two of them. Chapter 1007. Since she already had a child in her stomach, she naturally had to plan for marriage. However, because Xiao Yi was afraid of marriage, Su Che didn't force her to respond now. He only confirmed the health of the child in Xiao Yi's stomach before bringing her home. After returning home, Xiao Yi hugged Su Che from behind. Her mouth was still filled with resentment. I'm really not a good girlfriend. I'm injured. If you continue hugging me, the wound will open again. Su Che interrupted her nagging. After Xiao Yi heard this, she quickly let go. Then she pulled off his clothes and carefully examined his body. She found that there was gauze on his waist and abdomen. Her eyes immediately turned red. I didn't do it on purpose. I don't blame you, so don't cry. Su Che put on his clothes and placed Xiao Yi on the sofa. I don't know anything now, so I have to call Big Brother and ask sister-in-law to come over. After all, she has experience. Xiao Yi felt very wronged, but she didn't continue to pester Su Che. She even felt that she was really annoying and a little cheap. Previously, Su Che had treated her so well, but she didn't know how to cherish him. Now she only knew how to stare at him and knew that she cared. It was all her fault. Can you call Big Brother and sister-in-law tomorrow? Stay with me like this tonight? When Su Che heard this pitiful plea, he immediately stopped dialing. He sat back down beside her and hugged her. Now you know how important I am. Yes, these few days the feeling of worrying about gains and losses is too uncomfortable. I finally know why you were angry before. It was my fault. Perhaps it was because a pregnant woman's temper had become more sensitive. So no matter how hard Su Che tried to persuade her, he couldn't. He had thought that Xiao Yi would improve in a few days, but after a week Xiao Yi had become more and more clingy. Friday was a day for a group of people to gather. This was initiated by Mu Qiqi. Her intention was to let friends put down their identities and estrangement and be able to communicate as equals. When she heard that Xiao Yi was pregnant, Mu Qiqi clamored to see the pregnant woman. This was because she had heard that Xiao Yi had been dying for Su Che during this period of time. Mu Qiqi also wanted to see how obsessed she was. From the moment the two of them entered the door, Mu Qiqi saw their hands held together, their fingers tightly interlocked. Xiao Yi's gaze at Su Che was finally filled with admiration and obsession. This was the most direct evidence that one person liked another. Then the man and the woman sat in two different areas. However, Xiao Yi felt uneasy about being separated from Su Che. Even when she was with Mu Qiqi and the others, her eyes were always looking in the man's direction. Now you know that Su Che is fine? Mu Qiqi couldn't help but laugh at her. You used to be so carefree. You can't bear to leave for just a while. Yes, I didn't know Su Che was so charming before, Xiao Yi admitted generously in front of the women. I admit that I was blind in the past. Now that you know your true feelings, why don't you marry Su Che? Su, I marry him. Mu Qiqi was and said. Xiao Che of Mu Che. I came here today for a very important matter. I want to ask you all, what should I do if I want to propose to Su Che? Mu Qiqi glanced at Lu Xianxian. The two of them seemed to understand Xiao Yi's coolness. Mu Qiqi glanced at Lu Xianxian. The two of them seemed to have immediately understood Xiao Yi's coolness. Are you going to propose to Su Che? He's proposing to me. Do I need to ask you? He's proposing to me. Do I need to ask you? Xiao Yi frowned and looked at the two of them. You know that I'm pregnant now and haven't experienced this. I just want to know, what can I do to make Su Che believe that I've really fallen in love with him? Chapter 1008. Do whatever you want to do for him. Loving someone means that you want to give him the best things from the bottom of your heart. Over time he will believe it without a doubt. Mu Qiqi was very experienced in this matter. Then I want to give him a surprise. Can you help me? Xiao Yi winked at the two of them. No problem. Mu Qiqi made an okay gesture and Lu Xianxia nodded vigorously. Fortunately Su Che still had to work. Otherwise she really didn't know where to find an opportunity. As long as the time is right, give us a call. Mu Qiqi was very excited. The people around her got married in a muddle. None of them proposed seriously. Now that someone was proposing, of course she had to watch the show. Then I'll get ready when I go back tonight. Xiao Yi listened to the two sisters' words and looked at Mu Qiqi's earlobe. In fact, she had always been very curious as to why Mu Qiqi had tattooed English on her earlobe. Is there any special story behind this? Xiao Yi pointed at Mu Qiqi's ear and asked. This. Mu Qiqi tilted her ear to show Xiao Yi. It's my man's English name. When I was young I didn't know any better. You better not say such things. Do you still remember why you were taught a lesson last time? Lu Qianxian quickly reminded her. Mu Qiqi quickly covered her mouth and looked around to make sure that Xianxia was not nearby. Only then did she dare to continue. I was indeed immature. Now that I think about it, I think it was very childish. Lu Qianxian was no longer interested in her way of showing off their affection, so she directly cut her off. Xiao Yi was very touched. You must have been very infatuated with Zhou Xian in the past. Actually, what Mu Qiqi wanted to say was that she was also very infatuated with him now, okay? Although she would verbally despise him, she still loved him in her heart. The focus now is on you guys. Look at us couples. We're either married or have children. You guys are the only ones who haven't registered yet. I'll plan it when I get back tonight. Xiao Yi also made an okay gesture. How much courage did it take for a woman to subvert tradition and propose to a man? Xiao Yi didn't know, but she just wanted to do it. Su Che had done enough for her. This time it was her turn to take the initiative. Su Che didn't know why, but ever since he came back from the party that day, Xiao Yi had stopped sticking to him. He didn't know if it was because of Mu Qiqi's persuasion. She seemed to have returned to her former self. Although Su Che faintly felt that it was a pity, he needed Xiao Yi to establish a sense of security. However, gradually Su Che felt that something was wrong. In the past few days Xiao Yi had started to ignore him again. She was even very impatient. Could it be because she was pregnant? Because of this, Su Che didn't dare to mention marriage because he was afraid that he would scare Xiao Yi away again. Mu Qiqi had seen Su Che a few times during this period and found that he was listless. She couldn't go forward to dissuade him because Xiao Yi was preparing a surprise for him behind his back. Other people would propose at night because it was romantic, but Xiao Yi's plan was in the morning. Because she had prepared 2 wedding rings and a groom's outfit for Su Che. She wanted to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register with Su Che after the proposal. If he proposed at night, Su Che could still set it up at work during the day. But if he proposed in the morning, how could he prepare it? This made Mu Qiqi in a difficult position. She just wanted to knock Su Che out with a stick and wake him up in the morning. In the end, Mu Qiqi handed this difficult task to Tang Yan. She asked Chief Tang to call Su Che out to do something as long as it wasn't a dangerous task. She also asked Master Xiao to cooperate. Su Che was confused. Tang Yan sent him to City B for one night. As he was worried about leaving Xiao Yi alone at home, he called his sister-in-law to accompany him. Xiao Yi took the wedding ring that she had ordered, the dress that she had made, and the roses that had been flown in. She gathered all her good friends. Tomorrow morning she was going to complete the most important thing in her life. Chapter 1009. Su Che was inexplicably busy for the whole night. Tang Yan had asked him to come to J City to follow a suspect, but he didn't think that the suspect was an extremely evil person. An ordinary police force could do it. Most importantly, after daybreak, Tang Yan asked him to hand over the mission to someone else. There were no further instructions, so he could go home directly. Su Che didn't close his eyes. After all, there was a pregnant woman at home, so he rode his motorcycle back to Jianchuan without stopping. After the motorcycle entered the villa, Su Che didn't see any changes in the house because his thoughts were all on the pregnant woman. He was afraid that Xiao Yi would be angry if he didn't go home for the whole night, or rather he didn't care at all. After parking the motorcycle, Su Che smiled self-deprecatingly. He was clearly going to be a father soon, but he was still so careful. It seemed that he had to find a time to have a good talk with Xiao Yi. After thinking it through, Su Che opened the door and entered the living room. However, the moment he pushed the door open, other than being shocked, he also suspected that he had gone to the wrong place. So he subconsciously went out, confirmed the house number and came in again. Because the entire living room was immersed in a sea of white and red roses, champagne, candles, balloons and streamers. There was also a red arrow sign at the stairs. Su Che slowed down and slowly walked toward the bedroom on the second floor. However, he found that there was a sentence written on the bedroom door. If you've thought it through, push the door open and come in. Why would Su Che need to think about it? He reached out and opened the door. After the door opened, the first thing that entered his eyes was the groom's dress hanging in front of the windowsill. Then he saw the heart-shaped pattern of candles on the ground. At this moment, Su Che's emotions were very complicated. Although he had a guess in his heart, he didn't dare to believe it. He was afraid that he would overthink things. But this was his and Xiao Yi's house. If these weren't prepared for him, who were they for? However, Xiao Yi didn't say that it was for him, so he didn't have the confidence to believe it. Su Che slowly walked to the gown and reached out his hand. But just as he was about to touch the material, Xiao Yi's voice suddenly came from behind him. Does the gown look good? Su Che turned around and saw Xiao Yi standing in front of him in a white veil. It was a simple white veil, but it gave him a solemn feeling. I know you're very sleepy right now and I know you want to rest. But, can you please change into a formal dress and register our marriage? After hearing Xiao Yi's words, Su Che felt as if he was in a dream. Everything in front of him was so unreal. So he lowered his head and tried his best to believe everything in front of him. Su Che? Su Che raised his head again, still in disbelief. He asked, So, you've been ignoring me all this time just to prepare this? You and I are too close. How can I hide it from you? Xiao Yi explained very seriously. I thought. Do you think I'm still the same as before, that I don't know how to cherish you? It's not like that. I just want to propose to you. I want you to be my husband. I want you to stay by my side forever. Xiao Yi quickly hugged Su Che and explained, I just wanted to give you a surprise. I didn't mean to alienate you. After Su Che heard this, all the anxiety and fear from before were firmly settled in his heart. Do you want to marry me? After saying that, Xiao Yi broke free from his embrace and took out the wedding ring she had prepared from the bedside cabinet. She prepared to kneel on one knee for Su Che. Chapter 10:10. However, Su Che directly reached out and stopped her. Enough. It's enough. I'll promise you. Besides, I should have been the one to do this. I didn't expect you to do this for me. I'm already very... Xiao Yi grabbed Su Che's arm, her eyes so sincere that they were almost pious. She interrupted Su Che firmly. Don't let me finish. I've never been a good girlfriend. I've always been self-centered, selfish, and don't care about your feelings. I can't even talk about understanding you or taking care of you. The reason why I'm afraid of marriage isn't because I don't trust you, but because I don't trust myself. I'm afraid that I won't be able to play the role of a wife. I don't have confidence in myself. But Chi-Chi said that if you really love someone, you'll be willing to do anything for them. You'll be willing to give up anything. So I closed my eyes and listened to the voice in my heart. This voice told me that I care about you very much, but I don't know how to express it. My parents' love didn't teach me how to love, but it taught me to escape and be timid. And that previous relationship only taught me how to hate. I don't know anything. I don't know how to express it, nor do I know how to tell you that I love you very much. I want to do something for you. I want to make you happy and I want you to know how much I need you. Xiao Yi, who had opened her heart, mustered up all her courage and told Su Che everything that had been on her mind during this period of time. Because Mu Chi-Chi had taught her that if she loved someone she had to express it no matter what method she used. Su Che listened seriously and suddenly pulled her into his arms. I feel it. I've already felt your love. Of course I'm willing to be your groom. Why wouldn't I be willing? When Xiao Yi heard the answer, tears welled up in her eyes. Then let's get married now, okay? Su Che let go of Xiao Yi's delicate body and cupped her cheek instead. He gently kissed away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Then wait for me for a moment because I have to change my clothes first. I'll help you, no? Su Che shook his head. If you help me, we might not be able to leave the house today. Xiao Yi understood Su Che's hint in an instant, and her face immediately turned hot. Then I'll wait for you outside the door, okay? Su Che nodded. Xiao Yi took the wedding ring and brocade box and walked out of the bedroom, leaving Su Che alone in the bedroom. In order to make himself look more energetic, Su Che first went to the bathroom to shave and tidy up his appearance. Perhaps it was because he was about to get married, but his exhaustion from last night was swept away and he became much more energetic. Su Che did not expect that he would be the one being proposed to. That was enough for him to brag about in front of Xianxia and the others for the rest of his life. It was also at that moment that he could feel very strongly that he was being loved, and that he wasn't just paying one-sidedly. After being together for so many years, he had finally entered the role of partner, husband, and father. This feeling was so damn wonderful. 10 minutes later, Su Che changed into a fitting white suit and opened the bedroom door. By then Mu Qiqi and the others were waiting impatiently downstairs. She carried little Qi and looked upstairs from time to time, as if she was looking at a bride. When Lu Qianxian saw this, she quickly tugged at her and said, "You look like your own son is getting married." Chapter 10-11. After hearing Lu Qianxian's words, Mu Qiqi secretly glanced at the elegant man behind her. If the little girl in her arms really got married, the person sitting here would definitely be that stinky man, Master Xiao. Mu Qiqi could not help but feel a little sad when she thought that her daughter would leave her one day. "Mommy, you're strangling me to death." Little Qi was a little dissatisfied with Mu Qiqi's strength and slid down from her leg. Mu Qiqi immediately wiped her eyes and said in a low voice, "Mommy is imagining you getting married, so I can't help but feel sad. In the future you will leave Mommy." "After I marry Daddy, will I leave Mommy?" Little Qi looked at Mu Qiqi innocently and asked. When Mu Qiqi heard this, she immediately put away her sadness. "Daddy is Mommy's. It's little Qi's," the little girl argued. "It's mine." Whining. The mother and daughter began a new round of snatching war. At this time, Master Xiao would not let the mother and daughter implicate him, so he consciously dodged to the side. When Mu Qiqi saw her man hiding to the side, she snorted. "Amen." Then she said to her daughter, "I don't want it anymore. I'll give it to you. I'll go out and look for little brother tonight. Stop fooling around. Su Che is coming out." Lu Qianxian quickly held little Qi in her arms and watched as the two main characters of the day appeared. Xiao Yi watched as Su Che walked down the stairs step by step and quickly reached out her hand to him. Su Che walked toward his bride and placed her palm in the crook of his arm. "Go. Let's get married now." Xiao Yi looked at her friends in the living room and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. She had been very brave when she proposed just now, but now that the proposal had been successful, she had become a little shy. Su Che had thought that Xiao Yi would only prepare a gown and a ring today, but the wedding car and the wedding house were all there. "We won't be following you to register the marriage. We'll decorate the new house for you here. When you come back, all of us will celebrate for you," Mu Qiqi said to the newlyweds. "Go. Chief Tang enslaved you last night, so today, in order to apologize, he specially arranged a special window for you. You can go in and go through the formalities." Su Che wanted to express his gratitude, but he felt that it was too light. Therefore he didn't say anything and remembered everything that happened today. Then he and Xiao Yi got into the wedding car together. Today Lin Mu and had made time to personally be Su Che's driver. "Out of all of us, you're still the most capable. You're actually the one who was proposed to. As a brother, I don't have any other gifts to give you, so I'll send you guys to heaven of happiness." With that, Lin Mu started the Rolls-Royce limousine. Su Che looked at Xiao Yi beside him and suddenly felt that this was like a dream. "Shouldn't we tell Big Brother about our marriage?" Big Brother is already waiting at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, along with that little Ludin. After hearing Xiao Yi's words, Su Che's heart surged. I want to ask, other than me, does everyone else know about this? Of course. Otherwise, how can we cooperate? Su Che, let me tell you, everyone here is my family, including your elder brother and sister-in-law. In the future, if you bully me and don't love me, they will avenge me. After Xiao Yi finished speaking, she lowered her head and stroked her lower abdomen. And this one in my stomach will also protest. At this moment, Su Che finally understood what true happiness was. His family, friends, and lover were all by his side. They would never leave him. This was the greatest happiness. Chapter 10-12. It had been a long time since the staff of the Civil Affairs Bureau had seen newlyweds register in formal attire. And it was such a handsome man and beautiful woman. From their eyes, it could be seen that this newlyweds could last for a long time because they had light in each other's eyes. The procedures were completed very quickly. Thanks to Tang Yan, the two of them didn't have to wait after they arrived. They finally obtained the legally protected marriage certificate. Su Che snatched the one that belonged to Xiao Yi and held it in his hand. I haven't seen it clearly yet, Xiao Yi mumbled. What are you doing? Smile. I'll take care of them. What if you run away one day? If you run away one day, I can still arrest you. After hearing this, Xiao Yi knew that Su Che was still occasionally sensitive, so she didn't insist. She only said to Su Che, "Congratulations, Mr. Su. You have a wife and child now." "Congratulations to you too, Mrs. Su. Not only do you have a husband, but you also have a family." The two of them walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau with the marriage certificate. At this moment, Brother Su was waiting at the door. He looked at the couple and said with great difficulty, "From now on, live a good life. Don't torture each other anymore, understand?" The couple nodded non-stop. "Yeah, there's finally someone to play games with me in the future." Little Luden, who was in Brother Su's arms, jumped up happily. "I'm going to tell little Fatty that the lady boss of the dessert shop is my aunt. I'm going to make him drool every day if he can't eat dessert." So ruthless. Xiao Yi couldn't help but laugh. "Who asked him to always bully me?" Little Luden pulled Xiao Yi's hand and spun around. "All right, since you've already registered, let's go back now. Everyone is still waiting to celebrate for you." Lin Mu, and the driver, quickly honked the car horn to remind them. "Wait a moment. Enjoy the surprise that everyone has prepared for you." Seeing Lin Mu An's mysterious gaze, Xiao Yi suddenly had an ominous premonition. She felt that the people at home wouldn't let Su Che off so easily. Soon they returned to the villa. Mu Qiqi and the others had already prepared an open-air wedding banquet. Of course, the originally empty garden had now turned into a veritable wedding party. Pastries, red wine, barbecue, and music. When Mu Qiqi saw the newcomer, she quickly said, "Hurry up and change. I'm telling you, Su Che, you're doomed today." Su Che stared blankly at Mu Qiqi, only to see her suddenly take out the program list. It listed all the performances that the newcomers had to perform. The scale was so large that Xiao Yi's face turned red when she saw it. "Qiqi, I'm pregnant. I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to answer my questions. You're pregnant, so you don't have to move, but your husband isn't." Mu Qiqi was full of anticipation. She had been looking forward to this day for a long time. He could properly interrogate Su Che about what was wrong and why he had taken a fancy to Xiao Yi, this weirdo. But the scale is too big. Xiao Yi couldn't help but cover her face when she saw the question page. What first time? How long did the first time last? These were not appropriate for children, okay? Don't worry. Little Qi and the Tang family's Xiaobao will go to school after lunch. Other than the one in your stomach, there won't be another one. If you have the ability, you guys can join in too. If you want to play, let's play it big, Xiao Yi suggested, unconvinced. She didn't want to be watched like a monkey. We're an old couple. How can we still remember these things? Mu Qiqi looked at Xing Xiao and asked, "Right, Master Xiao?" "I remember." Xing Xiao suddenly gave Mu Qiqi an answer, which almost made Mu Qiqi bite her tongue. Chapter 10-13. We can't steal the limelight from the newcomers. Can't we talk about these things behind closed doors? Mu Qiqi stared at Xing Xiao seriously and asked. "It's fine to play." "It's fine, my ass. It's fine." Mu Qiqi glared at him. "We're going to mess with the newcomers now. After saying that, Mu Qiqi grabbed Xianxia and the couple went somewhere to discuss. Xiao Yi heaved a sigh of relief and quickly gestured for Su Che to quickly hide the program list. If this group of people really made a scene, it would be a mess. However, this scene was seen by the sharp-eyed Feng Xianxian. Accept your fate today. The program won't be able to escape. Xiao Yi looked at Su Che with a bitter face. It seemed that she would not be able to escape this calamity. In the guest room of the villa, Mu Qiqi was pressed against the wall by Xing Xiao. I think I need to remind you of what happened the first time. I was just joking. How could I forget? Mu Qiqi quickly coaxed the angry man. Really? Xing Xiao dangerously lifted her skirt. You didn't forget? Mu Qiqi was alarmed and quickly waved her hand. How could I forget? Master Xiao, let's continue tonight. It's not very convenient to be at Su Che's house now, right? However, Xing Xiao did not give Mu Qiqi the chance or time to resist. I think it's very convenient. Mu Qiqi was speechless. Of course, the couple disappeared for almost an hour. During this hour, Mu Qiqi was afraid that someone would look for her and bump into her and Xing Xiao in someone else's house, loving to their heart's content. It was precisely because she had to be vigilant at all times that Mu Qiqi felt very excited this time. An hour later, the couple returned to the garden. Feng Xianxian knew what had happened when she saw Mu Qiqi's expression. She was already used to it, so she couldn't be bothered to look for her. If she were to ruin Xing Zhao's plans, she didn't know what kind of trouble she would get into. You guys can also. I'm impressed at someone else's wedding. Ahem. Mu Qiqi quickly covered up her embarrassment. Can you not discuss this kind of thing in public? I'm a victim too. But all our programs have passed. You have nothing to play with. Feng Xianxian handed the program list to Mu Qiqi. Come earlier next time. Mu Qiqi looked at the program list and wanted to cry. Are you doing this on purpose? The way Su Che put on his lipstick just now was too funny. It's a pity some people didn't see it. Mu Qiqi was about to go crazy. She had worked so hard to come up with the program list. These people had no conscience at all. It wasn't easy for them to get married. Stop messing around and let them consummate their marriage. Mu Qiqi's eyelids rolled to the sky. However, she could not let Su Che and Xiao Yi do it again. He could only give up. It was all Master Zhao's fault. Of all times to be in heat, he had to choose this time. In the bridal room, only Su Che, who was covered in lip marks, and Xiao Yi, who was wearing a white veil, were left. Just take it off and change into your usual clothes. Xiao Yi saw that she couldn't wipe it clean, so she took out her home clothes from the closet. However, at this moment she was hugged by Su Che from behind. It's finally quiet. I've always wanted to be like this, to be alone with you. They are also blessing us, Xiao Yi said with a smile. I don't care. Anyway, don't go out. You're pregnant and need to rest. But I'm pregnant. I can't, that. Xiao Yi reminded him with a red face. I'm sorry. It looks like our wedding night is going to be ruined. After 3 months, I will definitely get back at you with double the amount. Chapter 10:14. Her name was Xing Qingwan and she was known as Little Qi. She didn't know who gave her her name, so every time her teacher punished her, she would make her write her name 100 times. Too much. She had asked her mother about it, but usually at times like this, her mother would take out a scalpel and look at her coldly. You want to change your name? Give up. Little Qi had no choice but to give up. Because other than her name, she really wanted to thank herself for being born in such a family atmosphere. Don't misunderstand, it's not because they have an unlimited amount of money, but because other parents want their children to become dragons and phoenixes. But her parents are different. During school they take her to travel, and during holidays they never allow her to bring homework home. According to Mu Qiqi, playing was the most basic respect for childhood. Alright. The result of this was that her grades never fell out of the bottom 3. Of course, it was not because she was stupid, but because she felt that if her grades were good, it would put too much pressure on other children. Look, the little daughter of the Xing family was good at everything and her grades were top-notch. A life that was too outstanding had to have some flaws, right? Oh, right, I forgot to mention that Little Qi was 11 years old and had just entered the first year of junior high. As the richest child in Jianchuan, Little Qi had never known what kind of trouble poverty was. But what was strange was that she actually went to the most ordinary middle school in Jianchuan. Once again, according to Mu Qiqi's words, Children who love to learn can get first place in the mountains. Children who don't love to learn can get last place in Oxford Primary School. Little Chi deeply agreed. She felt that her mother was too great. Why did Mu Chichi spoil her so much? It was because when she was 9 years old she had a serious illness. That time she scared Mu Chichi so much that she couldn't sleep for a few days. From then on she only cared about being lawless. The whole family only wanted her to be healthy and happy. Memories were a long story. It was another day when the results were announced after school. Little Chi's Chinese was once again ranked last. In this part she had inherited Mu Chichi's good genes. She couldn't even write a sentence when she wrote a composition, and she could easily pass math. Xing Qingwan, with your writing level, no one will care about you when you write love letters in the future. The whole class laughed, but Little Chi didn't care. Do I need to write love letters? The teacher snorted. So what if you're rich? No, teacher, I'm as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as the moon. The whole class roared with laughter again. Write your name 100 times as punishment. Little Chi sighed. Sigh, I'll go home immediately and apply to change my name to Xingyi. If you continue to be mischievous, I'll call your parents. The teacher threatened. Usually this was very threatening, but Little Chi only said regretfully, Teacher, don't just talk and do nothing every time. My mother has been looking forward to it for a long time. The teacher, what a weird parent. What a weird child. Of course the teacher knew Mu Chichi very well. For the students in the class, Little Chi was a very strange existence. As the richest teenager in Jianchuan, she did not have the arrogance of a rich person at all. She could get along with anyone. Her name sounded like that of a socialite and virtuous lady. However, her actions caused people to be disillusioned. What she meant was that she didn't have any musical, chess, calligraphy, or painting skills. Furthermore, her results weren't good and she was mischievous. In the eyes of teachers, she was the most troublesome child. However, she didn't make any big mistakes. She seemed to be very naughty. There's a transfer student in class tomorrow. She'll sit with you. Be nice to her. The teacher couldn't do anything about her and could only glare at her. Chapter 10-15. When had she ever been bad to others? Little Chi pursed her lips. However, that night when Mu Chichi returned home, she saw her daughter frowning and studying hard under the night light. Didn't I say that I'm not allowed to do homework at home? I'm punished to write my name. Little Chi did it on purpose. She wanted these parents to feel guilty. Giving her such a complicated name was really a headache. Mu Chichi crossed her arms and looked at it for a long time. Finally, she said, if you didn't punish me to write, I wouldn't have known that your name was Qing. Was this her biological mother? Little Chi almost fainted. Your dad is coming back soon. Put away your homework. Mu Chichi heard movement downstairs and quickly reminded Little Chi. Why don't you let my dad see it? Your handwriting is too ugly. I'm afraid you'll be scolded. Thank you, my dear mother. Little Chi looked at Mu Chichi resentfully and lay on the table again, waiting for her father to come to the study. However, Master Xiao had no intention of entering at all. That was because he could guess with his toes that some people were writing their names again. The mother and daughter were a pair of living treasures. When they had nothing to do, they would sing a two-man show for him. Little Chi really couldn't continue writing, so she picked up her textbook and went to Master Zhao's office. She looked aggrieved and pitiful. Dad, can you change my name? Master Xiao sat in front of the computer and tilted his head to look at his daughter. Is this about changing your name? At least let the teacher change it. Why don't I just change your teacher? Master Xiao smiled mockingly. After hearing Master Zhao's words, Little Chi immediately waved her hand. No need, no need. Dad, you're too lethal. Then do I still change my name? Master Xiao was completely calm in the face of danger. His every move had the charm of a mature man, exuding nobility and elegance. Every day his mother was infatuated with him. Just thinking about it gave Little Chi goosebumps. How boring. It was not that Master Xiao did not love his daughter, but this was the name given by old Master Shen. They had to respect and remember it. Little Chi took her textbook and came out of her father's office. In any case, no matter what tricks she played, her father would see through them. She did not know how there could be such a smart person in the world. The resentful Little Chi could only hang herself and stay up late to finish her punishment. There was no justice in bullying a middle school student. She wrote until midnight. Little Chi had long forgotten about the transfer student. When she was in class the next day, she was surprised to find that there was someone lying next to her seat. To be more specific, it was a boy. "Poon, come here." The classmate next to her waved at her. "He's so fierce. He starts fighting the moment he comes. You have to be careful not to get bullied by him." After Little Chi heard this, she suddenly became interested because she had never experienced what it was like to be bullied since she was young. "What's his name?" "I heard that his name is Xianxia. His family was originally quite rich, but after a car accident 4 of them died, leaving him and his grandmother to depend on each other." The female classmate with a whip was enthusiastically gossiping with Xiao Xiao. "But he's really handsome." "Was he handsome?" Little Chi was a little curious, but she was not that curious. After all, there were a lot of handsome people in her family. Even Tang Xiaobao looked like a dog. She really did not believe in her classmates' aesthetics. Therefore, after class, Little Chi rested her chin on her hand and looked at him. However, what made her anxious was that he did not raise his head the whole time. How could she take care of him like this? Chapter 10:16. This situation lasted for a total of 3 days. Every day Xianxia came the earliest, but he always slept. Legend had it that in every class there was a sleeping god, but his grades were top-notch. Was he like that? Although he didn't look like one. Little Chi was full of curiosity about him, so she made a bold decision. At 5 o'clock in the morning she wrapped herself up like a bear and rode her bike to school. It was not easy for her to see a handsome guy. At 6 o'clock in the morning Xianxia entered the school on time. Seeing that there was already someone next to him, he subconsciously frowned to express his displeasure. He knew who it was. It should be said that in all of Jianchuan, there was no one who didn't know her. She was born in a rich family and had lived a luxurious life since she was young. Every day she wore an innocent face and could chat with anyone she met. He didn't like the young lady at all. Therefore, after entering the classroom, he loosened his bow tie as usual and lay on the table ready to sleep. However, the young lady poked his back with a pen. "What?" Xianxia turned his head and said in an unhappy tone, "Are you looking for a beating?" Little Chi successfully saw a handsome face with distinct facial features. He was really handsome, and he was different from her father's and Uncle Tang's. However, his tone was not friendly and it was obvious that he had a bad temper. "I want to take a look at you." Xianxia said, "What's wrong with you?" He was fierce and not someone to be trifled with. "You can't sleep like this for the whole semester, can you?" Little Chi looked at his posture. It had been 4 days since he transferred to this school and he hadn't changed. "What? You want to control me?" His tone was still frivolous. "What I want to say is that by the end of the semester, you might be half paralyzed." "Xianxia, if you keep messing around, I'll beat you up. If a little girl wants to fall in love, find someone else. I can't afford to wait on you." After saying that, Xianxia leaned on the table and continued his big dream. Being so handsome indeed makes one fall in love with him. Little Chi thought to herself, her father must have been such a famous person back then, right? Moreover, it was said that her father's temper was also very bad back then. Little Chi put away her curiosity and was about to go to the cafeteria to ask for a bun. However, when she got up, she saw a little square thing at Xianxia's feet. She squatted down and picked it up to take a look. Her face immediately turned red. Then she threw the thing at Xianxia's head. To do this kind of thing so early, he really wasn't a good person. Xianxia was amazed that someone had thrown something at him. He raised his head impatiently and looked at Little Chi. "You really deserve a beating." Little Chi looked at him hatefully, but she couldn't help blushing. Xianxia looked down at the thing on the table and immediately grabbed Little Chi's hand. The corners of his mouth curled up wantonly. "Is that why your face is so red?" Natural reaction. Little Chi coughed lightly. What are girls thinking these days? Xianxia tore open the square object in front of Little Chi and saw that it was not a rubber object but a wet tissue. It was just that many restaurants nowadays dared to print any kind of paper towel packaging for the sake of gimmicks. He just conveniently took one for a meal. Little Chi rolled her eyes and struggled free from his hold. "A rich young lady like you wouldn't even know that there's such a thing in the world." After saying that, Xianxia threw away the wrapping paper in his hand, lay on the table and continued to sleep. This deskmate was really not easy to get along with. However, a few days later the exam results came out. He was actually the legendary god of sleep. Full marks in all subjects. Chapter 10:17. This was the first time little Qi had doubted life so much. Did he think that he could solve the questions after sleeping? Because he had gotten first place in the school, Xianxia received a lot of attention. In addition, he was tall and handsome. The girls in his grade almost broke the threshold of their class. In Xianxia's drawer there were also love letters one after another. As Xianxia's deskmate, little Qi felt pressured, especially since she was usually quite popular. At this time the people looking for her lined up all the way to the school gate. Was she some kind of celebrity manager? Looking at a certain someone sleeping soundly, little Qi couldn't help but complain, "Looks like I have to change seats. If this continues I'll be buried alive by the love letters." Xianxia heard this in a daze, but he didn't have any reaction. It wasn't until after school that a large group of girls gathered outside the window and waved at little Qi. Little Qi packed her school bag in a bad mood and walked out of the classroom. "Can you not look for me? I'm really not familiar with him. Classmate, just treat it as a favor." "That's right, classmate, we really like Xianxia." Just as a group of people were pulling little Qi, Xianxia carried his school bag and walked out of the classroom. Then he walked behind little Qi and took all the love letters from the girls' hands. "If you have the ability, come and look for me directly." "Wow, Xianxia," 2 or 3 girls blushed and screamed. But the next second they couldn't laugh anymore, because Xianxia directly threw the love letters at their faces. "Don't come again. Can you not pollute my eyes with this kind of doggy handwriting and the literary talent of a primary school student?" The few of them were instantly stunned. "In the future, if anyone writes me a love letter again, I'll go to the broadcasting room and read it in front of the whole school." A large group of girls were so scared by Xianxia that their faces turned pale and they burst into tears. However, Xianxia ignored them. After dealing with these girls who were in the way, he carried his school bag and quickly disappeared into the corridor. Little Qi looked at his back as he left, her mind full of questions. For example, did he really think that doggy handwriting would pollute his eyes? It was also from that day onwards that the number of people who dared to send Xianxia love letters decreased. Little Qi regained her usual peace and dispelled the idea of changing seats. She continued to live her carefree school life. However, she didn't expect that not long after, the class commissary in charge of studies would take the initiative to change seats with her. "Qingwen, you don't like Xianxia anyway. Change seats with me. That way you won't have to endure his torment anymore. You don't like studying anyway." Little Qi was a little embarrassed. She felt that this was good. Moreover, what does it have to do with others whether she likes to study or not? Most importantly, when did she say that she didn't like Xianxia? It was fine if it was others, but this student member had reported her to the teacher several times. How could she let it go? "Why don't I ask him for you?" Little Qi tentatively asked the study commissary and poked her deskmate. Xianxia was sleepy. He turned his head and looked at little Qi. "Do you want to die? The study commissary wants to sit with you. Go to hell." With that, Xianxia buried his head and continued to sleep. Little Qi shrugged, indicating that there was nothing she could do. When the sweet-looking study commissary saw this, she snorted unhappily. "You can't afford it even if you're rich?" "Heh, that's impressive," little Qi retorted. "My dad is Xianxia." "Who is your dad?" The other party immediately stopped talking and returned to her seat. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.